All right, I call the 2435th meeting of the Milwaukie City Council to order. This meeting is being held in person at City Hall and by video conference. The public may participate in this meeting by coming to City Hall or joining the Zoom webinar. The meeting is being broadcast live on the city's YouTube channel and Comcast Cable Channel 30 in city limits. There will be opportunities for the public to speak during this meeting. If you would like to address council, you may come to City Hall or participate via Zoom. If you are interested in speaking, please let staff know by filling out a yellow comment card for those at City Hall or emailing ocr@milwaukieoregon.gov for those on Zoom. When it is time to take public comments, staff will monitor the comment cards, email inbox, and Zoom participant list and chat. We will take comments in the order they are received and seen. Comments may also be emailed to ocr@milwaukieoregon.gov. We ask that all Zoom participants who intend to speak label their Zoom username to show their first and last names for the record. Spanish translation services are available upon request. The public is asked to request translation and other meeting accessibility services at least 48 hours before the meeting. For more information, contact the city recorder at 503-786-7502. Servicios de traducción en español está disponible cuando sea solicitado. Se pide al público que solicite servicios de traducción y otros servicios de accesibilidad por lo menos 48 horas antes de la reunión. Para obtener más información, llama al secretario de la ciudad a 503-786-7502. Translation services are also available in other languages. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The City of Milwaukie respectfully acknowledges that our community is located on the ancestral homeland of the Clackamas people. In 1855, the surviving members of the Clackamas signed the Willamette Valley Treaty, also known as the Kalapuya, etc. Treaty, with the federal government in good faith. We offer our respect and gratitude to the indigenous people of this land. And now I'm going to move into announcements. Before I begin, I would note I have 2 pins on my lapel. One is Milwaukee's dogwood. The other is Portland's rose. And I wear that sort of in solidarity with everything the city of Portland is going through on the national scene. And I was I got it about 3 weeks ago when I was part of a gathering of mayors across the region to say that we do not need the National Guard in our area. And of course, as everyone knows, that question is still tied up in the courts for a while. But okay, announcements. Early design work for the central segment of the Monroe Street Greenway project has begun. This segment starts at 21st Avenue, jogs over to Campbell Street, then to Oak Street, and back to Monroe Street. The community is invited to attend an open house tomorrow from 5 to 6:30 p.m. to see design plans, ask questions, and give feedback. Refreshments will be provided. The event takes place at the Public Safety Building located at 3200 Southeast Harrison Street. St. John the Evangelist Episcopal Church, in partnership with Love One, invites the community to an open house to celebrate the launch of a new emergency weather shelter on Wednesday, October 22nd from 5:30 to 7. This new resource will open its doors on dangerously cold nights, providing warm, safe overnight accommodation for up to 20 of our unhoused neighbors. The event will include a tour of the space, an opportunity to meet the people and organizations behind the project, and information on how you can get involved. The church is located at 2036 Southeast Jefferson Street. And I will just note that this project became possible, I think, because the city council prioritized it for county funding a couple of years ago, and so it's really great to see it get off the ground this winter. Stop by to ask the city manager questions, raise concerns, or just find out more about the city at the next city manager open door session on Friday, October 24th, this Friday from 9 to 10 a.m. at City Hall. You don't have to have an appointment, just come by, and rumor has it she usually has pastries there. Downtown businesses will open their doors for little ghosts and goblins with candy and fun surprises on Saturday, October 25th, this Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. Trick or Treat on Main Street returns with a long list of participating businesses. And while you are downtown that day, be sure to also stop by the Letting Library for Halloween craft. I'll also note that there's been a downtown decorating contest this year, and the Halloween decorations we always had the scarecrow contest, but the businesses have really got into the Halloween decorations, and I believe the council president is announcing the winner on Saturday of the downtown decorating contest. So the fall author series at the library continues on Wednesday, October 29th from 6 to 7:15 p.m. Emma Patsy imagines the impact of an anticipated 9.0 magnitude earthquake on the 700-mile Cascadia fault line in her breathtaking first novel, Tilt. Emma is a climate journalist and fiction writer. Her work has been published in The Atlantic, The New York Times, The Washington Post, The Guardian, and elsewhere. Join Council President Will Anderson and Planning Commissioner Nick Hess at a town hall on Wednesday, October 29th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at Ardenwald Elementary School. The town hall begins with a community workshop and Q&A from 6:30 to 7:30, and then transitions to a community mixer from 7:30 to 8. The Hector Campbell NDA invites you to their annual little kid-friendly Haunted Forest Trail on Halloween from 4 to 8 p.m. The annual tradition takes place at Homewood Park and will include a number of fun surprises, so be sure to make it part of your trick-or-treating. I will also note that Homewood Park, it's not on my list here, but Homewood Park is Saturday, is the site of No Ivy Day. So the North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District is sponsoring No Ivy Day, which is a day to help try and get ivy out of our parks. And Homewood Park has great, lovely, tall trees, and kind of keeping the ivy out of there to help the native plants thrive is important. So anybody who's so inclined, you can go to Homewood Park between 9 and noon on Saturday. Celebrate the Day of the Dead on Saturday, November 1st from 1 to 3 p.m. at the Letting Library. Honor loved ones in this year's Community Ofrenda by bringing along photos and messages. Drop in to learn about the history and traditions of the Day of the Dead. You can also come and decorate a sugar skull craft to take home. All ages are welcome. For more information about each of these events and others, please visit the city's homepage at milwaukieoregon.gov or call 503-786-7555. And then a timely fall haiku for this week. The bees are nesting. Time to leave your yard alone. Give our bees a home. It's a good message from Colleen Rockwell, who's one of the leaders of our Pollinator Pathway program here in Milwaukee, and she's right. Let the plants spend the winter in your garden beds. Don't break them all out, because they are important habitat for our pollinators and worms, and you'll see you have more birds if you leave all the debris to decompose over the winter. Okay, we have had a few order changes in our agenda tonight. As we have a number of special reports this evening, Council will proceed to take community comments first, and then we'll return to agenda item for special reports after community comments. So this is the part of the agenda during which Council will hear community comments on city business that is not on the agenda. Before we begin, is there any follow-up from the October 7th comments, Ms. Sager?
There is, Mayor. And we've had actually a lot of correspondence both at the meeting and between. Just want to note in your packet, These I'm not going to do long responses to, but there was a community comment from the Celebrate Milwaukie around the downtown, the Harrison and Main parking lot. A follow-up letter and petition from Rose Villa regarding safety issues on McLaughlin and River Road. And a letter proposing a community-free store on Sundays in the market spot. Just quick responses on those. On the CMI one, we will be talking Harrison and Main again earlier in the new year. On the Rose Villa piece, we're moving forward with our traffic light and speed on green program, or red light camera and speed on green program. And then on the community free store, I would encourage those folks to get a temporary event permit into the city so we can begin the process of engaging with them on that proposal. The comment that I want to give a longer update to tonight were the comments provided by Ms. Deborah Torres last meeting. And I believe she's here tonight. Thanks, Deborah. And thank you for taking the time to write in and to come to the meeting. So I'm just going to share the facts of the situation as I understand it, and then some responses from the city staff side to some of the topics that Ms. Torres has raised. So as you read in Ms. Torres's letter, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, she found an unopened can of alcohol in the food donation bin, which is in the lobby of the library, brought it to the library front desk and asked a staff member to take care of it. Another patron who was in the library at the time said that they had accidentally dropped the can into the food bin and it was their property, and our staff member returned the can of alcohol to the patron. Ms. Torres then had some conversations with that staff member and said that they believe that was out of the policy. There was some language used in that exchange that, again, I think you can find in the record in the packet. A couple things there, just our library management and our police department's interpretation of the policy is not that unopened alcohol is prohibited in the library. It's that consumption of alcohol or intoxication is against policy in the library. Director Husher followed up by email with Ms. Torres, offered to meet and talked about our interpretation of the policy and spoke about the language that was used that he felt was not appropriate language to be using with staff. Ms. Torres came the next day and met with Director Husher. They agreed, or he agreed. He asked to meet outside. There had been another patron incident that day that had made the inside of the library a little bit charged, and invited another staff member to attend and observe. I believe Deborah requested a different staff member attend the meeting. That staff member was not present that day, but a third staff member, a librarian, did attend the conversation. I believe they met in Scott Park Amphitheater. I think there was one piece of the correspondence that noted that might be an off-camera location. It actually is covered by all of our security cameras. They had a long conversation. They discussed the incident and Director Husher's email. He reiterated points, and he did end the conversation at some point because he said he didn't feel it was productive and got up and walked away. We have the PITS reports, Personnel Incident Tracking System reports. PITS reports were submitted throughout this entire process, both when the first incident happened with the food box and following the various touch points. And so again, those have all been provided to you in your packet. I, again, appreciate Ms. Torres bringing this issue forward and sharing her concerns and with both me and with council. And I want to just kind of provide, again, from the staff perspective, some responses to the issues, and then I welcome direction or counter thoughts from council. The first is on our policies. So again, just to reiterate, we do not have a no alcohol policy. The policy is about consumption and intoxication. Prior to this incident, we had begun an overall review of library policies, and we're going to continue to do that. My staff do feel that that we have not had an issue with unopened containers in the past, and that frankly, policing of that or enforcement of that could be challenging. We do have people sometimes bring groceries into the library, and investigating that is not something I think that we have the capacity to take on. I also would say that we have a very clear process of, again, documenting patron incidents through our PITS reports, noting violations of policy and escalating those appropriately. We issue daily exclusions, longer exclusions, and full-on trespasses when folks are repeat violators of policy. And from the perspective of my library staff, my police staff, and myself, I do feel the policy oversight that we have in place at the library is adequate. Ms. Torres raised some concerns about unprofessional conduct and a hostile work environment at the library. I very much appreciate the experience Ms. Torres had and her feelings on this. I have reviewed the correspondence from Director Husher and the documentation from the staff involved, and I personally do not believe there was a hostile work environment or that there is unprofessional conduct. And we've provided all the information to you about Mr. Husher's response. So please let me know if you disagree. Ms. Torres talked about the food box being potentially an attractive nuisance. I consulted with our legal counsel. He does not believe this fits legal description of an attractive nuisance. I will say that we are looking at modifications to the food box. That will just make it both an easier spot in our library to keep clean and orderly and be able to monitor what is in that space. It is right now a bin. Our staff do the best they can to monitor that, but I think there are definitely improvements that can both help the patron experience and staff's ability to manage that. And then Ms. Torres raised some really good points about a desire for a coordinated relief system as we continue to experience increased behavioral health challenges, substance abuse crises, and more. I encourage you, I think actually those were in the letter to me, but I can provide those comments to you. I think those are great points. We try to work heavily and closely with our county partners and other public health partners to address these issues and be a coordinated system. The fact is our library is a place where many folks come and actually seek services. And so that is a long response, but that is the information I wanted to share with you tonight. And again, if you have follow-up questions or additional information you'd like me to provide, please let me know.
And are you asking for that conversation tonight, or are you just saying, let us know individually?
That's sort of your prerogative, Mayor. I'm fine either way. If there's things you'd like to say on the dais, and again, Ms. Torres is here, you're welcome to do so. Otherwise, we can have that conversation and follow up.
If anyone has any questions or comments they want to share with the city manager, Ms. Torres has submitted a yellow card, so she will be coming up.
Sure. My question, because some of the stuff written in the staff report speaks about the behavior that it refers to in the expletive behavior, the workplace environment. Was any of that shown on camera?
That's a good question that I don't entirely know. I think the comment was made from the patron to the staff member in our main circulation area, which would be covered by camera. I'm not entirely sure what good of audio we get from that. I don't think there.
I'm looking at more body language.
Yeah. We would have that on the security footage.
Okay. And then my second question is in reference to the language that was used off camera. I mean, how do we? What was the director's response to that?
So and Director Husher's email is in your packet. Director Husher asked that kind of language not be used in conversation with staff. That is not an appropriate way to address staff. I think there was follow-up correspondence about the nature of the word used and the intent there. But Director Husher and I would say my opinion is that we would ask that as part of our culture of respect that we not use that language when we're talking to city staff.
I was referring to it because it said that he used the language outside.
Oh, okay. I will have to review that and talk to him and again, review the footage. I think if he did use language, it was quoting the term that was used by the patron in the incident.
I just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
Okay. I will say for myself, we'll hear from Ms. Torres and actually I'm going to take them in the order they came in, so we'll hear from her last. But if we have further questions or comments, we can take them up individually with you. Yeah. Okay, so I do have 3 public comments. And the first one, who was here super early, gets to go first, which is David Ashenbrunner. And you have 3 minutes. Oh, sorry. Well, you can go on and sit down, but I have a script I have to read that I forgot. For those persons who wish to speak, please submit a yellow comment card found on the table at the back of chambers. If you are on Zoom, please use the raise hand reaction to alert staff that you wish to speak. And when instructed to do so, click the microphone button to unmute yourself. If you are telephoning in through Zoom and would like to make a comment, dial *9 to raise your hand. You may also submit a comment via email to ocr@milwaukieoregon.gov. Before you make your comments, please state your name and city of residence for the record. If you would like the city to follow up with you, please submit your contact information to ocr@milwaukieoregon.gov. As council has many other business items on the agenda this evening, speakers will be limited to 3 minutes each. Because information provided during community comments may be new, this is not the time for discussion. The city manager will respond at the next meeting to comments that require follow-up. So, Mr. Ashenbrenner, you have the floor.
Mayor, council, staff, good to see you again. It's been a while since I come and visited you with you. I'm going to go real fast because I only got 3 minutes. So my reason here tonight is parking enforcement. That's my big issue that I have. I see it regularly in my walks through my neighborhood of unregistered or expired tags on vehicles, boats parked on the street with flat tires, cars parked on the street with flat tires. As we get more density, this is going to become more of an issue. And I really wish it would be a proactive issue. Dealing with this would be proactive and not citizen complaint driven, because it's just really hard for the citizens to have to want to, God, do I really say anything about my neighbor? You know, when you're trying to make friends with your neighbor to bring up something about, hey, you really need to move your boat. Those kind of things can really be a challenge. So I kind of would hope that would, in the discussions with the city moving forward, I know code's been moved to another department, but if we could have the officers on the streets when they're making their rounds be a little more proactive of looking for these vehicles that have been parked for a long time on our streets. Second item, on Home Avenue, we have a beautiful sidewalk, and I walk on it with my wife almost every day. The issue comes up is we got these little white reflector signs that we really don't know what that parking strip means. Can people park on those strips in between those reflectors? Some of them get bent over every now and then because people do. So I just like clarification of what is allowed to be parked where on Home Avenue. And this is really going to be an issue when these new middle housing units come online. Okay. No parking signs. So there's some no parking signs on Home Avenue. This is all on the west side. At the bottom of the hill, getting close to Railroad Avenue. And I understand the narrowness of Railroad Avenue. But where I live on the hill, which is the narrowest part of the street, there are no parking signs. There are no signs there at all. So the question I have, and I just haven't tracked staff down to ask them, is how much space between driveway to driveway is needed in order for a car to be able to be parked there? Because otherwise, I got to park half a block away. Running out of time, it's going fast. Okay, with that, I need to switch hats real quick. The farmer's market this next Sunday is the last regular season of the farmer's market. Please come down. Even in the rain, we'll be there. And we have that special market on November 23rd. And with that, I think I'm just about out of time. So thank you very much. You know how to get a hold of me. I'm sure Scott has my email and my contact information. So thank you.
All right, next up, we have Elvis Clark, who wrote us a letter about 37th and Harrison, and maybe he's going to read us that letter.
I think that, oh, yeah, okay. Well, I'm not going to read the letter. That's just my written comments. I am Elvis Clark from Ardenwell Neighborhood Association. I'm the transportation representative for the association, and mayor and councilors and council president and city manager. I can tell you the association is very concerned about the continual accidents at 37th and Harrison. That's a top concern of theirs on the transportation safety side of things. And I included in the packet, and it's like page RS 104, a couple of photos from very recent accidents. But this intersection has a long history of accidents. For drivers and bicycles trying to cross or turn onto Harrison, visibility is really poor. There's a bend in the road if you're on 37th facing south, there's a bend in the road just before that 37th, and then there's a retaining wall, and so it's very hard to look over the retaining wall. Plus, you're back from the cars that are coming down Harrison there. On the other side, if you're coming south, north on 37th, there's a hill there, plus the bend, so that's also got poor visibility. So it all stacks up to a big problem there at Harrison. The last photo shows, the last thing I put in the packet, which is the last page of the packet, is that it kind of tries to show you the bend in the curve and the retaining wall there. It doesn't really do a great job, but anyways, what the neighborhood is asking for is the first step to have the city engineer or their maybe one of their staff engineers come to the neighborhood association meeting and kind of go over the constraints that we're facing there and reducing crashes and or whatever kind of remedies can be used to reduce that in the long term. So now I'm going to switch, and I'm not going to be the representative, but just a budgetary citizen kind of. I know that the public, you got a new public safety fee coming. It seems like, if I recall correctly, the first couple of years of the budget is still in the black as projection. And I was thinking maybe this could be one of the uses of that public fee is to, if there's any substantial costs to taking care of this problem at 37th and Harrison. Anyways, you got the message.
I was gonna say, and the budget committee meets next month, I think, and you can submit more comments to the budget committee
Okay.
on what you didn't get to finish.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Well.
And Deborah Torres, it's my last public comment. While she's coming up, Mr. Stoffer, are there any people online who are looking to comment?
We do have a Zoom audience, but no hands are raised.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Torres, please hit the red button so that you, or hit the button so that the red light comes on. Thank you.
Well, I wasn't quite prepared for what I just witnessed. So I really don't know what to say. And when I spoke the first time, I deferred to the council and didn't make comment because I wanted to remain neutral. One thing I'd like to say is I appreciate the effort that our National Guard is making. It's a dangerous situation. I've made 3 reports in person to ICE. The first time they let me in. The second time they were very hesitant about letting me in. The third time it was barricaded. So I don't feel represented by our mayor to object to what our commander-in-chief has determined to be important. I just wanted to say that. I don't feel that I'm in the position to judge other than what I've personally experienced. As far as this incident goes, I documented it as best I could and as truthfully as I could. I was so astounded at the reaction of the librarian when I presented what I found to be a can of alcohol smack dab in the middle of a food box. I could have been a 5-year-old kid picking that can of alcohol up, or a teenager. But I wasn't. I was a 70-year-old responsible woman with a master's degree in psychiatry and gerontology as a nurse practitioner in psychiatry for 20 years. I'm a mandatory reporter. I'm a grandmother. I'm a resident of this community. For this to have been taken in such a lighthearted and insincere way, as if it was a joke, astounds me even more so than the original incident. I was the only one in this room that was actually there. And yet, our city manager spoke as if she were there. Brent spoke as if he were there. Right before I met with Brent, there was an incident that involved 2 police officers, or 3. They knew me. As I approached, they said, "Go ahead and go in." I surveyed what was going on. I determined it was not dangerous, but I saw Brent way over by the windows while the officers were, I don't know what they were doing with this poor man that was just sitting there saying, "I'm going to make a citizen's arrest."
Well, I'm sorry. But I appreciate your concern for the safety of the
I
library.
don't have
and
any concerns. I'm done with the subject.
Thank you.
There is a further incident. Well, it's all recorded.
Thank you. All right, no further yellow cards. No, nobody online. Okay. All right. So now we come to a fun part of the evening, a new business introduction. So we do this a couple times a year when we have a few new businesses to introduce. We give you about 10 minutes each to talk about your business. You can, I don't know if any of you gave us logos to put up, but we'll show your logo, hear about your business, and in a few cases, I've been at your ribbon cuttings, which have been fun. And so in that regard, we will start with the little blue store. So if you would like to come up and tell us about your business, it's I'll just say a little bit about the fact that the store got a grant from Clackamas County Health Department. I see one of the employees of that department is here for agreeing to stop selling of tobacco products and replace it with fresh fruits and vegetables. At the ribbon cutting, I got some very tasty avocados, so awesome, as well as some very tasty Ethiopian food. So please tell us about your store.
Good evening. My name is Hagos, Hagos, last name is Saklet, Gallery. And she's shy, but my wife is sitting up there. So her name is Salam Tikavo also. So thank you for the invitation, and mayor and council members, and also thank you for your generous time on a ribbon cutting, and we really appreciate your help. I would like to tell us a little bit of our story, and then we can go to what we're trying to do on the store. Salam and I, we moved from the Bay Area in 2022, but prior to moving, we purchased that property and the store, and we couldn't have chosen a better place than Milwaukie. We find out is the best place to do business and to live, and that thing just fell by accident. We didn't know from big city to come to Milwaukie how it feels and how, but we had a brother and sister from different mother behind me that came from Bay Area also a year ahead. And then we just followed their footsteps, and they put a lot of hours and a lot of time to find this place. So I'm thankful for them too. And regarding the store, we were selling cigarettes and all that, but the cigarette does not profit. is very minimal, it's about 10% or less. And then you have to store a lot of stuff in the shelf. If it expires, you just eat it. So in order even to get out from that business, we threw out about $7,000 worth of cigarettes. They're expired. Nobody will buy them. So, but the main thing that was in the main factor actually for us to get out is we are close to schools. There are about 3-4 different schools. Kids come and go by. So we just said, that's it. We don't want to do that. We should, even if the county doesn't come with the proposal, we would not have done the cigarettes anyways. But the county came in, they did some survey before that, and a lot of neighbors, they told them on the survey. I think if you want to know about that, actually Mark is here. You can ask some questions and see how the city can work with him to convert neighborhood stores to make them profitable without cigarettes. And even though we got $20,000 from them, but that $20,000, it is good to give you a motivation to change your business plan, but it's not enough money. So if you can collaborate with them and then find out what kind of stores, where are the stores located, and then you can have, working relation with them. If you want to ask him, he's here. I can give you my time. You can ask him questions. But what we're doing right now is we have fruits and vegetables. I see few people actually that come and shop in that store, and they love it. I see kids come, instead of getting candy, they buying apples, orange, grapes, playing basketball, coming from basketball. So it's really gratifying to see kids going that way. Instead of buying tobacco, so chews and all that stuff. So we are happy. It's picking up. I know it's going to take a little bit of time, but we can see the signs. People are coming back, asking about the food and all that stuff. And we do have the food already. We started last Monday, and we have the food ready. A vegetarian and vegan. We don't have meat, but we will start with that, and then we'll see how it goes, and then we may expand. But for now, that's what we have. So it's the last year was hard on us because of the construction of Washington Street. We went back to work to pay our bills. We cannot keep it open because there's nobody coming. So we had a really, really hard time. But now it is starting to pick up, and then we are really happy where we are. And thank you for your help also to present this to the community. And we have very, very supportive community in our area. They do signs, and they put them. There's one neighbor. She drew all that logo and all that stuff, and she put all that the neighborhood, all the on the electric poles by herself. So they come in and try to help, try to buy and all that stuff to keep up afloat. So we're really excited, and then we're happy to be here, to the business. Even if we sell the property, she doesn't want to go out from Milwaukie. She said, this is home.
Nice.
So we are safe. We still feel safe. We walk during the dark. I walk. We like to walk. We walk about 10 miles a day or something. So we do it early in the morning or later after supper. So we feel safe. There's nothing. So we are happy to do business here. And then coming from big city, the bureaucracy is so big and you cannot do anything in one day, but I come here to pay my bills in 2 seconds and I'm out, or whatever that I need. So we're really appreciative for what you do. And then if there is any question I can answer, I'll be ready.
Well, welcome to Milwaukee, and we're glad to hear that that you're going to stay. I will say the Little Blue Store is it was here when I first moved to Milwaukee in 2002. It's kind of an institution, but you've really given it a new life with the fresh fruits and vegetables and the Ethiopian food. I'm a big fan of Ethiopian food, so I will be back. I wanted to offer my fellow counselors a chance to ask any questions or say anything if they wanted to say anything.
I don't really so much have a question, just a comment. I just want to thank you for taking this on, because I think you were one of the first to like do this grant, if I'm not mistaken, at least in Milwaukee, you were the first. And considering it's your business, it's a big step to take, changing a business model, so to speak, right? But what you did was just not about your business. What you did was about the community you live in. So I think there needs to be a lot of focus on that. What you guys have done to create a healthier community, not just those who live in it now, but for the future generations, and replacing the cigarette with an apple, is fantastic. So my hat's off to you for doing what you do. I mean, if you guys weren't open to doing that, this wouldn't be a possibility. So it really takes commitment on both ends. And I love hearing about Milwaukee and how this has become your home, considering how unhome-like the country can feel right now. It's nice to know that people who live here are feeling like this is home for them. So, thank you.
I guess I'll save my questions till when I visit the store, so we have time for the other shops to come up. But I will just say I live on 30th Street. I'm right by you. I'm so excited that you're going to have that Ethiopian food. I'm going to be there most afternoons. And I'm just so happy to have you in our neighborhood. Like, you're a real gathering spot, place of community. And I know whenever I see those signs up on the phone poles, we're just so happy to have you in our neighborhood. And I'm so grateful for what you bring. So thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you very much. We're open 6 days, Monday to Saturday, from 10 to 7. But if the food crowd just for dinner, if they want it late, we can stay late. We can expand the hours like to 8 or something. So, but for now, we are just limited. But the food is ready. We're selling right now. So.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much. We have gone past 10 minutes, but I did see Mark stand up and pick up a yellow sheet. Did he want to say something? No.
Having a sticker.
Oh, okay. Great. Well, thank you very much for coming, Mr. Tekle, and
Thank you.
all the best. All right, and next up we have Sayona Balai with Toolbox Gallery. Sayona is also a member of our Equity Steering Committee, and her gallery's been open a few months now, but we're glad to finally get her here. So, hello, Sayona, welcome.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And I think most of you know me, and Toolbox is a creation that happened because to support construction workers. I've been in the construction industry for 30 years as a carpenter, as a business owner. And through all my career, I have seen the blue collar not being respected or recognized. And I want to do something different. And to that end, I started Toolbox. And we've been showing work of various artists, not only construction workers, but people in the community, specifically Milwaukie. And also specifically, we have designated the month of August for children, and had a very successful art show, over 150 canvases, paintings of children 5 and older, and also teenager on the on the other side of the wall, painting of high school. So the effort is to make the children feel part of the community. And summer is the only time they're free. And so they're able to bring their grandparents, their parents, and show a lot of pride and interest. We also have workshops monthly, and these workshops are free. We have dinner and material specific to the workshop. And we have limitations up to 15 people so that the instructor has a lot of time to the attendees. And it's been very successful. And we also have artist talk once a month. We invite artists in the community to speak about their art, how they got involved in the art, and the healing power of art.
Okay.
And our gallery is open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 5.
Yes, great. I know you're having a painting class, artist painting class on the 29th, I
Yes.
believe. Is that one full or are there still spaces?
There's still space.
There's still spaces, so
Yeah.
people are interested in that can
Yes.
go to their website or stop by the place.
Yes.
I would also note that Sienna has been very proactive about the upcoming Portland Book Festival, which is an event that the Literary Arts Organization downtown Portland puts on. It's usually at the museum, although I don't know if it's at the museum because they're under construction. But it's a big 1-day book festival in early November, but then there's a 9-day community event, a 9-day series of community events called Cover to Cover. And Sienna is the one who brought it to my attention. And we actually are going to have 7 events in downtown Milwaukie as part of Cover to Cover, 2 at the library, 2 at Spoken Word Books, and 3 in Sienna's gallery. So watch for some promotion of that in the coming days. That starts on November 1st. It's November 1st through 9th. So there'll be lots of cultural events in Milwaukie, and Sienna is a big part of why. So anybody have any questions or anything for Sienna?
You're wonderful.
Thank you. It's
Okay.
a pleasure to be here in Milwaukie and to work with amazing staff at various level. Thank you for your leadership.
And the other thing you should know is Sienna's company is the one that is re-enclosing the Milwaukie Museum, which has been under construction for a couple of months now. And I hear that they're wrapping up soon and we're getting down to the painting phase soon. So it's very exciting. And I know she donated a lot of time and labor to that as a donation to the museum. So really appreciate that kind of support for our community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you. And next we have another member of our equity steering committee, Liz Start, and her business partner, Lisa, whose last name I don't know. But they are the owners of Circus Upcycled Gallery in the Historic City Hall upstairs between Freem and Keeper Coffee.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do we have to wait for our sign?
No, you can go.
I'm just kidding. So since we have a circus themed shop in Old City Hall, we couldn't miss the opportunity for me to come and clown around at New City Hall.
Oh, thank you. Yes, hi everyone. My name is Lisa Ledoux. I think most folks are familiar with Liz. Yeah, thank you for this time and having us. We started Circus a little while ago, but opened in August, early August. And so it's been a really nice opportunity to be part of the Milwaukie business community, and just kind of thrilling to be a part of the historic City Hall building with Freem and Keeper Coffee over there as well. So we work with about, are we at 30 now? 30 local artists? 31 local artists. When we say local, we're meaning Pacific Northwest. I mean, most are Milwaukie or Portland, but we have some folks in Seattle and a couple nonprofits that come together in that they use upcycled materials. So that is our requirement, to have artists and makers that sell at Circus use at least 60% upcycled materials in their work. And so we have gifts and art from jewelry to yard art, garden art, to sculpture, and have a rotating gallery wall where a featured artist is there for about 2 months as well. So it's a nice well-rounded group of folks that now kind of have like their own little community within our little Circus world, and have made some great connections there. So yeah.
And as a reminder, we do know how to spell circus. And we thank you all for having us earlier in the year. Circus stands for circular sustainability, but also we're obsessed with vintage circus stuff. So hence Circus. And it's just been such a joy to be in the community and have so many folks just come in and even just to, enjoy the whimsy and the silliness, but then also to get folks thinking about the stuff they dispose of and how much we can use and reuse everything that we have.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I see you flagged the Makers Market at Freem, which I had just heard about recently. And so, are you involved in organizing that?
We aren't, but we thought, hey, if this big business next to us is going to be open, we did talk to them about it. So the power was out, in case any of you knew, last week. So they had to reschedule. So it will be this Wednesday. And so we will be open at that time as well, because we have some amazing makers. And, just our spin on it is that it's all upcycled, reused items. And also, in case you didn't know, yesterday was the National Day of Reuse, or National Reuse Day.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much. Well, I see the city, or the council
Savannah's
president.
been taking photos from different angles, but you've got such good makeup. Do you want one like this? Okay, really good smile. Okay,
Oh, that's cute.
2,
Yeah.
1. Awesome.
And I just need to remark that 2 of our 4 new businesses are equity steering committee members, which I think shows your council goals at work, folks. You've got your equity goal, your dev goal, it all comes together. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you and good luck in as we go into the holiday season. Yeah. And finally, we have the folks from 1847 Food Park, the new food cart pod that's going in right there. Is it there? Yeah, it's there. Yeah, I know. I've talked to them about that.
Hello, hey, thank you, Mayor Beatty and Council for inviting us tonight. This is very exciting. My name's Steve Smith. This is Eric Saunders, my business partner, and Colin Rath, who is part of my migration, who's helping us with the operations of our business. Just real briefly, how we ended up here. So I grew up in the area, not proper Milwaukie, but lived for a little bit of time early on in Westland, and then Oregon City, and my family is Oregon City based, and we live in unincorporated Oregon City now. I was coming down through Milwaukie one day and saw the Peak Funeral Home for sale, which was interesting to me because I knew Les and Frida very well. And I thought this would be a really great place to do something. Didn't know what we were going to do, but I felt like I just needed to buy this property. And Eric and I talked about it. It was in contract, and they gave it up, and so we had the opportunity to purchase it, bought it, and then figured out what we could possibly do. We thought about a lot of different things. And one of the things, one of my greatest memories of it being a child was the old Milwaukie days and the parade and the carnivals and everything that would happen in Milwaukie. And I really love the city of Milwaukie as I love the city of Oregon City. You know, they're very beautiful places and really old school, which I love, establishment kind of areas. So Eric and I talked about it and decided we need to build a community space that is a place where the community wants to come and be a part of, that we can provide. And that's how we kind of came up with this concept. I know that the food cart thing has been going on for years, but we couldn't figure out another way to do it. So it was, hey, we could put up a nice bar building, have food carts bring in more food to the city, which I always felt was lacking here. So that's how we ended up down here. I'll let Eric talk more about the construction side of it because that's what he does. But those were my pieces, and that's how we ended up down here. You know, I know all the old guards. You know, Joe Bernard. I used to ski with him. You know, I know all the old guys down here. You know, my family businesses have always been in this area and been a big part of this community. I know you don't know exactly who I am, but that's how we ended up down here. And we're very excited to build this and get this going, and really looking forward to getting this opened up. And we're so close to getting it done. I'm very excited to.
That was gonna be my question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have an opening date? No?
Well,
Okay.
I'll let him do it, but I would like it to be November 14th. That's my birthday.
Ah, okay.
So anyway.
Okay. Well, now the pressure's on.
Thanks. I really appreciate that. Just to add on what Steve said, the construction side of it, you know, we kind of decided to build what we're building next door, but we wanted to build something special, something different, something, you know, if we're going to build a food cart, we're going to build the coolest food cart we can build. And we looked at the existing structure, we looked at what was there, and we tried to establish on that. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. We wanted to separate the food cart from the bar, make sure they're two separate entities, but also working together. We wanted to add to the community. We wanted to do so many of those things. And we've worked very hard at that. And I think we've come up with a structure that will be in a food cart park that will be, people will travel, they will come to. We've, worked really hard on the carts we choose. We've worked really hard on those things, which brings me to migration. We brought in migration as our service agent. They are, they're coming in because Steve's the owner and I'm the builder, but I had no business running a food cart or a bar. So we brought migration in to run the bar for us and to be that for that purpose. So I think we've created what's going to be a pretty cool little gathering space for Milwaukie. Bring people in, bring people destination in, people from out of Milwaukie to come in, and really revitalize or be that spark that maybe helps downtown Milwaukie. That was our ultimate goal. So I'll let you talk for just a minute about migration, what their role is.
Yeah, I mean, as Eric and Steve both said, this isn't about migration. We were brought in, and over the 16 years we've been in business, we've learned a lot of things. And one of the biggest things we've learned is everyone has their expertise and let them do their expertise. I don't know how to build a building. That is what Eric does really well. Steve is a jack of all trades and covers a lot of ends of things. We run businesses in the food and beverage space. And when sitting down with these guys, we realized it was a really good partnership. And this isn't a migration project, it's an 1847 project. I guess the biggest thing I would say is within what they are both saying and the values and the things we bring to the table. My degree is in community development. And it's something we've taken really to heart with all the locations that we have as a company with migration. So we plan on doing the same thing for 1847. And I've been fortunate enough when entering this project is spending a lot more time in Milwaukie, which is not an area I've spent a lot of time in. My son started playing basketball for Car Sports, and one of their basketball facilities is in the church right around the corner. And within the last year, my wife started working for Grant and Benedict's, and their warehouse is right down the street on the other end. So within that, I've spent a lot of time in Milwaukie and absolutely fell in love with it. It's what the Portland surrounding area has, are all these little pockets and all these little amazing places and amazing communities that bring a lot to the table. And I just hope that we with 1847 can do exactly that, is be a piece to the community, fill a gap that isn't here, and really support the community as much as possible, whether it's the schools, whether it's city council, whether it is the overall community. Like, that is really what our goal is.
Well, thank you. I have sensed a lot of excitement about your opening, and I do, yeah, I have had people asking me, when are they opening? And so I'm gonna start telling them November 14th. It's funny, when the power went out last, when there's reference to the power outage, my first thought was, oh, they dug into something at 1847. They dug into the line, and then I found out it was
Half
the
this
tree.
office came down there and asked me what I did.
Okay, any counselors have, yeah,
I just have a quick question. It's really great to hear you talk so much about community and your intentions around the space. And I guess I'm just kind of curious, because community is such a big theme for so many of us in Milwaukie. You know, how will you go about building that? You know, with, I think you mentioned schools. There's another food cart pod at the other end of town. We don't have any beer, so I'm joking. Right. But it's wonderful and refreshing to hear you lead with community, and I'm just curious to hear a little bit more.
Well, you know, I've always looked at, I live in Carver and grew up there. I mean, I've spent my first 6 years over in the Westland area and then grew up in Carver, which is very rural, still live out in that area. But community has been always a big part of my life. I mean, it's like I said, I mean, I knew Joe Bernard, I know all of these guys from the old days from my father, who was very well connected. My father was on the board at Providence Milwaukie Hospital for years, so on and so forth. So the whole community aspect of things, you know, bringing in things like, one of the things we've talked about is, you know, we found like Clackamas High School was, there was a pub over in that area that did well, and then they kicked the high school kids out. New people came in, and they revitalized it with the school, because they started playing the football games on Friday nights after the game was over, when all the students were up into the building. Those are the kinds of things we're looking at doing. You know, can we coordinate with the high school to bring in, you know, an after game, so that the players can watch themselves and see this stuff. You know, these are just ideas and things, but bringing in, you know, activities, you know, the trivias, the karaoke's possibly, you know, different things like this. Those are things that I always feel that build the community, to be able to, you know, hey, we want to go down and hang out at this place because a lot of fun stuff is happening, and that's what we're looking to do. We've got so many ideas. I mean, that's the problem. We've got too many ideas, and trying to pare them down, and how do we manage bringing things in that will attract people to Milwaukie proper, and enjoy the town. I mean, this city is really, really neat town. Like I said, I mean, just the buildings and everything. I've been talking with Mike Richardson about some of the stuff on his end of town, you know, and how can we coordinate and help, you know, do some things down there and build and keep it going and get it. Because I feel like this end of town we're building south. That's how I feel about it. I don't know how you guys feel, but that's the way I see it right now. So it's just a lot about bringing in the community stuff. You know, I can sit here and name names that you guys probably know all night long, but a lot of people that help revitalize this town. You know, I'll give props to Alicia Hamilton, who's a great friend of mine. We've done a lot of work together on different things, school board stuff, different stuff. And, you know, we're really good friends, and she's given me advice on, how to bring in stuff here. So it's just the community that, I'm involved with mainly from my children's schooling. They were Sojourner kids, that you're probably familiar with that. So that community was very strong and very Milwaukie heavy, right? So those are one of the reasons why. And why did I choose Milwaukie over Oregon City to start? Well, this property was for sale. So I'm still looking there too, but we'll find some.
If I can just jump in real quick, I think the other thing is a coin that we have tried to term for the location is Milwaukee's gathering place. And spending time in the area, we've really realized that everywhere has its niches and its strengths. And I think one thing that we're going to have that's going to be a big strength are tables that can be pushed together. So if you have 10 people there and then 3 other friends show up, you have tables that can be pushed together and you can really join together. It's going to be a place that kids are welcome. It's going to be a place that games can be shown. It's really just going to be a place. You have a place that you need to celebrate. You need a place to mourn. You need a place to just have a birthday party. We're going to be able to have space for you, and we'll always make space for people that have an event that they need.
And the only thing I'm going to add to end it is, talking with people up and down the community, beer store, Frem, all these other places. The one thing everybody believes in is that the more people that come, the better off everybody does. And, you worry about competition between other people and that kind of thing. It really is. The more people that come downtown, the better we're going to do, the better beer store's going to do, the better every single business across up and down the street is going to do. And that's what excites us.
I should just have a question, and I'm glad you brought that up. And Councilor Stavanger, thank you for bringing up the community aspect. And speaking of bettering, just out of curiosity, because obviously you guys know we already have a food cart pod down on the south end. Was there concern or thought about how how this development might negatively impact those food cart owners?
I mean, once again, more people come. If people want to go to those food carts, they go to those food carts. Absolutely. We have different food carts than they have. Those food carts are, it's more than a walking distance away. It's a smaller food cart. There's what, 5, 6,
10.
Is there 10 now? I'm there too
Eight or 10.
But, did we, can 2 coffee shops go in the same neighborhood? Yes, they can. I didn't really, yes, of course, we were concerned with that to some extent, but we still looked at it as creating a gathering space for people, not necessarily just a food cart eating space. So we felt comfortable with what we're doing.
And in talking about it, we had a food cart pod come in right on the corner of 28th and Gleason, which is right next door to our original location as a company. And we talked to them about that a little bit. It's a matter of, again, the more energy you have in a community, activity breeds activity. And so them coming in wasn't a matter of like, just because we have a restaurant, they shouldn't come in and do their thing. So I think it's really a matter of just being open, having good transparency, having good conversations, and really trying to talk through anything that's going on as a business. Like, we know the owners of Frame. We know the owners of Beer Store Milwaukie. These guys have done a lot of time in meeting other business owners in the area. And so I think as long as we're working with everybody and trying to do the best to not step on toes and really just kind of do our business model, I think that's what's important.
One last thing to that is, if you look at studies around the country where breweries go in sections, breweries, restaurants go in parts of town, the more you have, it's called cluster feeding, cluster breweries, cluster things. When you have lots of places for people to go, people go there because they have more choices. They choose one of the food carts down there versus one of ours, great. But it brings people and more choices. They have Frem now, they have Beer Store, they have those food carts, we have our food carts, and anything else in between, Libby's, whatever. The more you can put that out, there's many, many studies that show that that's where people go. So I look at that as not competition. I look at that as growth.
Thank you. I have heard Mike from the beer store take that position for sure. That the more businesses, there was a different bar that was looking to come in on Scott Street at one point, and he was like, "Bring it on! More the better. People will come walk between them." Yeah. Okay. If nothing else, we will thank you for your time. Yeah, we're way past time. Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of a little bit off topic, but I know there has been talk about, opening the streets to some, being able to transport alcohol through and stuff. And I think it would be interesting to explore that more. I don't know if the avenues are, I know there's been discussions. I don't know anything about those discussions at this time, but I would love to get involved with that and help try and figure out how can we do that? Because I think, there are issues with that as you come into it, but how can we do this in a thoughtful way to make it work through, between like us, beer store frame, we're getting involved with the, Bing in the New Year event, and these things. And so I just kind of wanted to throw that out there as, throw it into your mind just for fun.
Well, I would encourage you to talk to city staff about that. As I recall, how we left it was we were going to focus on a more event kind of driven thing. So when there was an event, we could close the street or, have some kind of boundaries for an event, but not a general
Right,
open
and that's
carry.
not what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But so maybe Bing in the New Year would be a great first try and see how it goes.
So there's a permit process for that with the city, so you can reach out to Ms. Sager and she'll get you to the right.
These are things that I'm talking about with Samantha right now. And how can we make this work within this couple blocks at this point, and as an event, and maybe that would be a good one to look at and do. So I would love to know who to talk to about that, and this is you.
Yes, and Sam and I are good buds, so we can talk.
Great, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. I'll give you guys pause. Okay. We are 20 minutes, almost 30 minutes behind schedule. Okay. We will move on to Clackamas County Water Environment Services. Their director, Greg Geist, comes about once a year to give us an update on things that are going on both at the Kellogg plant here in Milwaukie, but at West more generally, as our sewage treatment provider, wastewater, water reclamation, whatever it is we're supposed to call it.
Okay, wonderful. Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. Greg Geist with Water Environment Services. I'm here also with Alexa Morris. She's our community relations coordinator. Hopefully you all know her already. And I know you all know what we do, but I'll just, for folks maybe watching or listening, our vision is to be a collaborative partner in the community. That's our core value. When we serve 7 different cities, and we have a lot of partnerships. Partnerships are critical to clean water. Just some fun facts. We have 5 water resource recovery facilities that serve about 200,000 people in the county. We clean over 7 billion gallons of wastewater every year. We basically take what goes down your toilet, your sink, shower, industries, and we make clean water, we make electricity, and we make a natural fertilizer called biosolids that's used on agricultural fields. That's why we call ourselves a water resource recovery facility. I will say that we had a highlight this year. So the Oregon Association of Clean Water Agencies, which is an umbrella group, covers the whole state for utilities like us, mostly wastewater folks. Everyone from Gresham to Salem to Corvallis, every meaningful entity in the state is a member of this, and we won the Member Agency of the Year award for 2025 this year. So pleased to share that. We also won it in 2019, which is Our leaders, we're ultimately governed by the Board of County Commissioners, but we have an advisory committee, and Councilor Cosgrove is on that, as well as a guy named Tony Fields. He's a resident of Milwaukie. I always want to talk about rates. Milwaukee's rates have been flat for the last several years, and there's a plan behind that. We're actually harmonizing the rates across our entire service district. So everybody who gets wholesale wastewater treatment, like the city of Milwaukie, will pay the same amount. Everyone who gets collection and conveyance services, like Happy Valley, will pay the same amount, and everyone who gets surface water services will pay the same amount. And that harmonization, when those lines cross, is 2030-31. So we intend to keep rates in Milwaukie flat until then, and then march up to some percentage moving forward. Reasonable and predictable rate increases is what we shoot for. Planning. So we invested a lot of money, a lot of time over the years in planning, and it's definitely paying off. We have master plans for all of our facilities. We have collection system master plan. We have a surface water master plan. We have a long-range financial plan, and we have a long-range capital improvement plan. And that's what allows us that reasonable and predictable rates. We know what we need to build, when we need to build it, and how we're going to pay for it. And for any utility, that is a very good position to be in. We're very fortunate. We are upgrading and expanding our Tri-City facility. Hopefully folks heard about the Clackamas tunnel boring machine. That's been very successful, almost $60 million project. We're finishing up in the river as we speak, and we'll be connecting that back at our facility in early 2026. We are on time and on budget. And I have a really cool video, but we can't play it here tonight. But it's on YouTube. It's about 5 minutes long, and there's a really cool animation that shows kind of the tunnel boring machine and its pathway and things like that. So take a look.
And whoever designed your Clackamas logo deserves a massive.
Yeah.
I remember when you were doing the name contest. When you buy a piece of equipment like that, that's a big piece of
No, we
equipment.
rented.
You rented.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I wondered. Do you
Built in
sell it?
Germany, came across.
Okay.
It actually was delayed a little bit because of the bridge, the Baltimore Bridge collapse. But then, yeah, we took it out of the water, put it on a barge, and sent it back to Germany.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep. Just wanted to talk a little bit. We did have, I'm a warts and all kind of guy, and we have had some odor issues over the summer.
Yes, sure.
We're working diligently. We added a sewer odor component to our website. So it's on the front page of our website. If you see a spill, if you smell an odor, it gives you a number to call. We also expanded our email notification list. Sometimes we call it the shoulder season. It's when we're either bringing, it's usually when we're taking equipment offline when the flows come down after the winter and into the early summer. And that process we know can produce odors. And so we try to time it as best we can, and we notify people if we know that there's going to be odors. We did the other problem this past summer was we replaced the biofilter media, and it took a while for that to kind of get seeded with proper organisms. So that was unfortunate. But
Yeah, I was going to raise that because I feel like, in full disclosure out there, I live a block from the plant. And I've lived there for 23 years, and this was the worst odor summer in many, many years. And so I know like every 5 years or whatever the cycle is, you replace that media. I would just like to suggest that you replace it not in the summer months when people want to have their windows open, but in the time of year when we have our windows closed.
Yeah, we will take that.
Yeah.
Our apologies.
Yeah.
We'll try to do better.
Yeah. Thank you.
You may notice a project going on out on Johnson Road. We are expanding, so all future growth in our region, mostly out Happy Valley, is going to be treated at our Tri-City facility. We have a large pump station up near the Lowe's and the CarMax that brings that wastewater down along the freeway into our Oregon City facility. That's a 20-inch diameter, we call it a force main, a pressurized pipe, and we're adding a 30-inch as we speak. That should get us quite a ways down the road as far as capacity, the ability to move flows from what would otherwise go to Kellogg down to our Oregon City facility. Another thing, you've probably all seen these trucks running around. We run about 6 to 8 liquids trucks out of that facility every day. Part of our 5-year capital improvement plan is to add it's basically a liquid biosolids product. We take it to our Tri-City facility, spin it in a centrifuge to thicken it up, and then that's the biosolids that we send out from Kellogg that we send out east. In our 5-year CIP, towards the end of that, we are going to build that centrifuge at Kellogg, as well as a loadout facility that will be enclosed and have air handling and everything like that. So a lot less truck traffic a few years down the road. So we're excited about that. You'll also see our admin building. It's been gutted and it's ready to get remodeled. We're excited about that. It's going to kick off early next year. We did some, actually, I'll talk about that later. Through the land use process, we did some tree plantings that I'll talk about in a minute. We're also adding a community room, an event space there. We're up to 25 people, and we're designing it so it will be easily accessed by the public with bathrooms. Should be neat. Modern.
So in that picture, the trees in front are faded out. Are those trees coming down?
No.
Or that's just to make the building more visible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nope. Okay. Oh, okay. This the Kellogg Park tree planting. We did 23 trees and 90 shrubs. We made it a kind of a West Staff event, but we did have a volunteer, Colleen Rockwell, our haiku author, came and helped. A lot of fun. We did an event like this at our Tri-City facility this year too. Just wanted to touch on PFAS. We all know there's the forever chemicals. They're in the news. They're in everything. They're everywhere all the time. And they're a concern for us because they don't break down in the environment, mental health effects, and there's a lot of research going. There's thousands of variants of these things. They're the PCBs, of the new age now, except they're even way more durable than PCBs. So they're out there. They're a problem. What are we doing about it? We're doing testing. We've tested our influent. We've tested our effluent. We've tested various locations within our facility. We've tested our biosolids. We test industries out in our collection system. What we found is we're mediocre. If anything, relative to kind of our peers, we're a little bit lower. We don't have any significant sources of PFAS that discharge into our system, so we're fortunate that way. Slide. What are we doing? Like I said, we're testing, actively working with any potential dischargers. We also partnered with the Association of Clean Water Agencies and got some legislation through the last session for funding and a partnership with Oregon State University to do land application monitoring across the state. So we're really trying to get good science around this before regulation. And then what you can do, little things, use transfer takeout foods into glass, ceramic, or plastic before you reheat them, and then look for the labels. The labels on the upper right there are safe for choice, green seal, and I can't read the other one. But yeah, to see products with those labels on it, they're PFAS free, so be sure to look for that. And then partnering with Milwaukie, we have our Good Neighbor program. We did 144,000 this year. Last year, the money went to the debt service on the park. Not sure where it's going to go this year, but We have a geographic area where that is applied to, and we have certain,
We have a
agreed upon-
grant program, yeah,
It's a
that Peter's
cool,
been running.
cool project.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, we are committed to being a good neighbor, even if we stink a little bit. So. It was great. Thanks here for coming out. We did a Three Creeks floodplain enhancement kickoff meeting. Again, warts and all. We had problems with our contractor this summer, and we did not get all of the in-water work done.
Oh, no.
So we're gonna have to come back at it next year. So we'll be planting this fall and winter. We'll be back finishing the actual stream work during the in-water work window next summer, and then planting more. That's the one construction project that didn't go well this summer. Lots of stuff that we do. I was just at in addition to being our public relations person, Alexa is the former president of the Milwaukie Rotary. We were at their fundraiser at Gray Gables just last week, so that's always fun. I won't read through all the events that we sponsor. And we're also, Alexa is talking to the Downtown Alliance of Milwaukie. They seem very interested in partnering with us on something. So if there's other events that you think would benefit from our participation or support, please let me know. And that's it. Yeah, anytime, I'll tour anyone, anytime. Even if it's just one person. If you haven't seen our facility, if you haven't been through our facility, I think you would enjoy seeing it. It's pretty cool. So let me know. I'll give you a tour. The other thing I'm kind of excited about, last thing, is our customer assistance program. We were able to meet with the city's finance director and billing staff, and we're shooting for January 2026, where we can apply our 50% discount for low income in Milwaukie, which would take people's bill down to about $18 a month. So significant. Yeah, and I'll leave the last.
I will just say on the tour offer, if you haven't been on a tour, I recommend it. A few years back, maybe 3, they gave tours on the day that we were doing the duck race over the dam, and unfortunately it poured that day, and I think that curtailed some of the.
It's dramatic.
It was dramatic, but people were definitely interested in the tours. I think there was a pretty good sign up, so maybe we'll have another event next summer where we can offer some public tours. I think that'd be great.
We look forward to it.
So I have one question for Greg, and then I'll open it up to other questions anybody might have. We have been getting encouragement from some of our, from DAM, from the Downtown Alliance of Milwaukie, and some of our businesses about testing the water in Milwaukie Bay. You guys test for your DEQ purposes, but where that information goes is very complicated and hard to get to. And it may not answer all the questions that we will ultimately, we're going to have a bigger conversation about water testing, I think, next month. So I don't know what all we need to might want to test for versus what you test for, but it would be useful to have what you test for be in a more easily accessible form.
Okay. So we had an inquiry about that, and my deputy director is the one that he took a deep dive into it. He sent an email, actually sent 2 emails in response to that, and did some data analysis. I'll make sure that we get that to him. I honestly, I don't remember exactly what was in it, but it was comprehensive.
Well, yeah, I saw some of the email, and it was very much more science than my brain can deal with. But it was, I mean, I think, like I said, it may not ultimately match up with what we feel like we might want to test, but it just seems like, I mean, when I saw what you had to go through to get to the DEQ page to find it was really terrible. So if we could just make it be more easily accessible. I mean, I'm not asking that you test for anything you're not already testing for. I'm just asking for the data to be a little more accessible.
Yeah. You know, we have some engineers that I forget the name of the tool now, but it's basically a way that we can go into our LIMS, our laboratory information systems, got, I don't know, I don't want to say a million, but many hundreds of thousands of analysis. We do 30,000 analyses a year in our laboratory. And we recently came into some software that really makes that accessible. To the extent that we can face that outward, I'm not sure, but I'll look into it.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Thanks, Greg. And I'll just add, Greg's team's always fantastic, very responsive. Thank you for all the quick information. And I think we can talk more about this topic. It's an interesting one where we get our constituents that are asking for this testing often compare us to Portland. And what's interesting about Portland is they have both a parks department and they have their own, environmental services bureau. And so they're kind of the info sharing and display is a little easier. So I look forward to continuing to explore kind of what opportunities we can have to not duplicate efforts, but to the mayor's point, if there's other things we get directed to test for, we'll have to figure that out.
Other questions for Mr. Geist? You're our rep on.
Yeah, I don't have questions because I work with these fine individuals all the time. I just want to say thank you for the work you guys do and your commitment to the community. I mean, you guys are always trying to figure out how to do better from whether it's the stink or whether it's the cost. And I just admire that about your organization. You guys really go out of your way to, just like you were saying with the low income, you guys were trying to figure out how to expand that and reach more people and looking at a number of different things. So you guys do kind of inspire some of the things that I bring to this council to look at too. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. I will say we attract a certain kind of person, people of service to the community just by nature because of the type of work that we do. I mean, you can ask a mechanic at our wastewater treatment plant why they work for Wes. It's because they believe in our mission. And so it's a pleasure to lead a group like that are inherently motivated to serve the community and to learn. We call ourselves the learning organization because it's fun. We get to learn things and do things better. And we just attract people that find that appealing. So.
And Councilor Kostrobati is the lead for us on our affordability goal. And I was great to hear that our rates are going to stay flat for years yet, and that about your low income assistance program. That's something we've talked about with. We have it for our own utilities, but it's great that you're going to have that available soon. So we look forward to sharing the word on that. Other things?
All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, we will do the consent agenda and the annexation, and then we will take a break. All right, tonight's consent agenda includes minutes of the City Council September 9th, 2025 study session, September 16th, 2025 work session, and September 16th, 2025 regular session. A resolution amending the Parks and Recreation Board bylaws. A resolution acting as the local contract review board authorizing the purchase of a 2025 Ford electric transit van with camera equipment. And a resolution acting as the local contract review board authorizing an increase in the project authorization for a public improvement contract with Lands and Landis Construction LLC for the Ardenwald North Improvements Project. Does any council member wish to remove a consent agenda item? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. None heard. The consent agenda is approved unanimously. Next, we have an annexation. I guess the community development director is doing an annexation. I move for the, what am I doing? Oh, I guess I'm just turning it over to you for your, point of orders, right? I can't move for anything. So I will turn it over to annexation of 5815 Southeast Laurel Street. And I will turn it over to our community development director, Laura Weigel.
Hello again. Nice to see you all again. I am here to answer any questions that you might have about the annexation. I do not have a PowerPoint. If you have any questions for me, I'm here.
Does anyone have any questions about the annexation? It's a pretty routine one. Yes. All right. In such case, I will entertain a motion.
I move for the first and second readings by title only and adoption of the ordinance annexing a tract of land identified as tax lot 1S2E30AD04500 and located at 5815 Southeast Laurel Street into the city limits of the city of Milwaukie, file number A-2025-003.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded for the first and second readings by title only and adoption of the ordinance annexing a tract of land identified as tax lot 1S2E30AD04500 and located at 5815 Southeast Laurel Street into the city limits of the city of Milwaukie, file number A-2025-003. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. It passes unanimously. Ms. Sager, will you read the ordinance 2 times by title only?
An ordinance of the city of Milwaukie, Oregon, annexing a tract of land identified as tax lot 1S2E30AD04500 and located at 5815 Southeast Laurel Street into the city limits of the city of Milwaukie, file number A-2025-003. And again, an ordinance of the city of Milwaukie, Oregon, annexing a tract of land identified as tax lot 1S2E30AD04500 and located at 5815 Southeast Laurel Street into the city limits of the city of Milwaukie, file number A-2025-003.
Mr. Stoffer, would you please poll the council?
Councilor Massey? Aye. Council President Anderson?
Aye.
Council Stapleton?
Aye.
Council Cluster Body? Aye. Mayor Beatty?
Aye.
Motion carried 5-0, ordinance 2257.
Okay. All right, so we are going to take a break now till 8:20. I did want to highlight, in case people didn't see it, that we've flipped to the order of the last two things. So we're going to talk about parks first and TSP last. Well, last before council reports. So with that, we will adjourn for about 7 minutes. Thank you. Oops, okay. We're back on the record and we are going to flip our agenda as I mentioned earlier. And first, because Councilor Massey may need to leave before the end of the meeting, that's part of why we had to flip this. Parks District Intergovernmental Agreements. It's been a ride the last 10 months, and I'll let Emma describe it.
Thank you, Mayor. Scott, can we share the slides, please?
So this handout is parallel to some of the slides, but we're not gonna read through it in that much detail, so.
I'm sorry, Scott. That's perfect. So we know that for about 10 months now, since you all authorized Mayor Beatty and Councilor Massey to be your designated representatives for negotiations with the board of NCPRD, which is the county commission, that we have been giving some updates, but we've often been giving updates that don't shed a lot of light to kind of tell you the flavor and the direction we're going. But, you know, we, to try to be good faith negotiating partners, have kept details pretty light to be respectful and respect the process at the negotiating table. But we also recognize it's been 10 months. We know our constituents are very interested in updates on this topic. So for tonight, we wanted to daylight a lot of where we are in the negotiation, tell you sort of where the latest things stand. And then Councilor Massey and Mayor Beatty will have sort of a recommended path forward that they would like to get your thoughts on. This, you know, we talked about the 10-month process, but, you know, for those of you who have been following parks for a while or been on council for a while, you know, negotiations about this park and negotiations with the Parks District on various matters go back far beyond that. So if you'll kind of bear with me, we felt like it was important for the record and for our constituents to kind of hear a bit of a timeline of how we got here. I've handed out a timeline to you all that is pretty detailed. It mirrors what's on the slides. For the sake of time, I'm not going to read every single thing. I'm going to try to kind of give you a flavor of the timeline. But again, this was requested by Mayor Beatty and Councilor Massey as kind of an important understanding of the story of how we got here. So I'm going to start with a few slides that are about the timeline of what I'm calling Milwaukie Bay Park background, everything that gets us up to 2025. Just to hit some high points, we have been a part of the North Clackamas Parks and Rec District since 1990 when we formed and or signed the original cooperative intergovernmental agreement. Sometimes you'll hear master IGA, the city calls it a cooperative IGA. It's the overall IGA that governs our relationship with NCPRD. When we entered into that agreement, Milwaukie retained ownership of its parks. So we own all the land and own all of Milwaukee's parks. NCPRD's responsibility is to maintain and operate those, and they are funded by a district tax rate that Milwaukie taxpayers pay. Couple like minor amendments in 2008 was probably the biggest major amendment of the cooperative IGA, and at that point a new park, including Riverfront Park, was added to the cooperative IGA as a piece of our park portfolio that NCPRD maintains. It was changed to Milwaukie Bay Park at some point. So then you can have a series of early phases of development at Milwaukie Bay Park, and the city was in the driver's seat on those. The city has always seen the kind of opportunity and potential for the waterfront. So in 2012, they took on phase 1 of Milwaukie Bay Park and funded and led that effort. Same thing in 2015 with phase 2, funded and led by the city and completed. Then we get to 2017, and NCPRD and the city agreed to advance phase 3 of Milwaukie Bay Park, which takes this nicely, now acquired and cleared and ready for prime time land and start to put things like play spaces and gathering spaces and amenities on it. In 2017, NCPRD requested to lead project management and delivery. So this is a shift from those previous phases, and the city agreed that NCPRD could take the lead on that. There were 2 years of public process, and in 2019 was when the sort of vision was first unveiled for designs for Milwaukie Bay Park. 2020 comes, and we all know what happens in 2020. 2020 was COVID. But in 2020, NCPRD and the city were working on two agreements for Milwaukie Bay Park, a funding IGA and a construction IGA. The city adopts them both in November of 2020. And the NCPRD board puts them on agendas, but removed them from agendas several times. There was some political stuff going on, so electeds got involved. There were additional negotiations in 2021. Once again, in November of 2021, the city adopted both IGAs. The NCPRD board, I believe in that same month, voted to adopt the construction IGA, but said they would not take a vote on the funding IGA for the park until we updated the cooperative agreement. The funding IGA was still again put on multiple agendas and removed by the NCPRD board. And I believe it was springtime of 2022, an updated draft of the cooperative IGA was sent to the city, but that draft removed all language related to Milwaukee's ability to depart the district. So the original 1990 IGA refers to a statute that says this is how the city could leave the district. And there is a disagreement among parties about the validity of that language. Kind of in frustration about where this was at, in 2022, Milwaukie Council voted to consider leaving the district, but then did withdraw that ballot measure to allow for more community conversation and legal research. In early 2023, the city filed a petition to the court to clarify if the terms in the original IGA were valid. So again, I said the parties disagree on the validity of what statute is in the IGA and what means by which the city would depart. I think it is important to clarify here for the public that this validation action is not a lawsuit, is not us suing the county. It is truly asking the court to interpret whether the terms in the original agreement are or are not valid. A county circuit judge ruled in 2023, basically agreeing with the county that the terms in the 1990 agreement aren't valid, and the district's understanding of how the city could or would depart the district falls under a different statute. The city appealed that decision to the Oregon Court of Appeals, and I have learned how slow appeals courts are, because we are we're maybe a year in now, and we're a year past oral argument, and yes, you're right, 2023 is when we appealed, so this has been a long time. In 2023, when we filed the appeal, the county implemented a communication freeze and said, well, let's not talk about really anything until the appeal process is completed. Okay, we switch to a green timeline now. So this is what's happened since you all have been a body. In January, you sent a letter to the NCPRD board asking to restart discussions on Milwaukie Bay Park, basically asking them to reconsider the communication freeze. NCPRD board, who had also had recent elections, agreed to begin 2-on-2 listening sessions. We met first in January. It was a productive meeting. We agreed to continue to meet monthly and try to advance the project. The city requested additional information on what SDCs could be available for Milwaukie Bay Park at this meeting. And we also made a kind of a policy statement that we feel it should be commensurate with the Concord project, which had kind of leapfrogged Milwaukie Bay Park in NCPRD's development timeline. We were on track to meet in February. That meeting was canceled. We then met again in March. What also happened in March was 2 of the very significant grants from state and federal sources that NCPRD had secured from Milwaukie Bay Park were lapsed or were canceled because we hadn't made progress. So that was a bit of a big setback for the project. We meet for a second listening session on March 19th. We were not provided updated SDCs at that point. We were provided kind of a refresher of the latest, SDC amount, not a what could the SDC's allocation be for the project. But we were still committed to keeping meeting and keeping it going. We met in April. At the April meeting, the board stated that they did not want to discuss Milwaukie Bay Park until we updated the cooperative IGA. And when we had originally initiated these negotiations, we asked to talk about the park, just the park. The city believes that the two issues, the cooperative IGA and the park, are separate, but to be good faith partners, we agreed to pause work on Milwaukie Bay Park and try to update the cooperative IGA. We all agreed, because it was in court, we would not talk about the withdrawal provision in the IGA, but we could talk about other pieces of our cooperative agreement. Elected directed staff to do this work, and staff from both sides met 6 times between May and June to work on the cooperative IGA addendum. I just want to briefly say here, I very much appreciate the partnership of county staff throughout this whole project. We have really appreciated the level of work and attempts we've all made to move this forward. In July, we meet again and we review the staff work. And the city's perspective, we felt we were making really good progress on the cooperative IGA. And the parties agreed, let's continue that, try to finalize the draft cooperative IGA addendum, and start talking about Milwaukie Bay Park. Sorry, this font is getting small. Okay, so then it's August, and staff meet another 4 times to finish the cooperative IGA and to develop a Milwaukie Bay Park IGA. I don't want to, dive too deep into the details, but I just want to say that the city is prepared to make some concessions in our draft cooperative IGA. Things like we would be happy with the district capitalizing any assets that they pay for in our parks. And then were the city ever to leave, we would pay the depreciated value of those assets. That was never very clear in the original IGA, and we would be happy to make that clear. We also agreed to take on more responsibility for facility maintenance and upgrades at the Milwaukie Community Center, which currently, in the current IGA, is the responsibility of the district. So we were really trying to make concessions and really eager to see if we could do that to make progress on Milwaukie Bay Park. We delivered drafts from our side, reflecting the staff-to-staff work on August 8th of the cooperative IGA and September 2nd of the park IGA. In September, shortly before we were due to meet, so we met on September 22nd, just a few days before, County Council informed the city that the board wanted to discuss the July draft. So going back prior to the work done in August. We met, microphone.
I would add that we're notified of that change at 4 p.m. the night prior to the meeting.
So we met. What was explained to us was that the board had not had ample time to review the drafts that we sent on August 8th or September 2nd. And that there had been absences among the board, and so they asked for a little more time. We agreed to give them till October 1st because we felt we were running out of time to really give a substantive update to all of you and to the community. On September, so we were going to meet again on October 1st. On September 26th, we were asked to develop a funding strategy to fully build Milwaukie Bay Park. We responded and provided details on what the city was willing to bring financially forward to make the park happen. We met on October 1st. The city again provided that summary of what we could provide. And we communicated at that meeting the deadline of today. We said we are prepared to bring these agreements to our council on October 21st for consideration and November 4th for a vote. But we felt we needed to provide a deadline for these now 10 months of proceedings. So today I received a phone call from staff who had been given authorization from the board to provide sort of their update, their answer on what we could bring tonight. And I will say that I expected through our conversations to date that it was going to be, what their thoughts were on these two documents, addendum to the cooperative IGA and a park agreement. That's not really what we got. And what we got is pretty different than I think any of us expected. So what they were authorized to relay, staff was authorized to relay to me today, was that the board is supportive of starting separation proceedings between the city and the district. That the board would be willing to provide 3.1 million of Zone 1 SDCs. So Zone 1 is the Milwaukie zone. So these are SDCs paid by Milwaukie development to the district. So they would provide those to the city for Milwaukie Bay Park. They'd also be willing to loan $2.5 million in Metro local share to the city. The loan terms would be negotiated. And they would request the parties work together on a separation plan. I met with the mayor and Robert before this, and I think all three of us want to share that you authorized us to negotiate Milwaukie Bay Park. We need you to know we did not go to negotiate any kind of separation agreement. Separation was never discussed as a topic of negotiation through these proceedings.
A few times there were comments about how there's an impending divorce, or, is there a divorce? And we consistently said there has been no vote to leave the Parks District. Right now Milwaukie is fully into the Parks District, and there has been no vote to leave.
Yeah.
So this definitely came as a surprise.
So this is what's before us though now. I've communicated to county staff that we have an agenda item on November 4th, which was supposed to be about considering adoption of agreements. And, our North Star through this whole thing has been that you guys adopted a goal saying you wanted Milwaukie Bay Park built by 2027. So we, despite it feeling like a age, 10 months, we have really been trying to stay focused on that goal. What does it take to get the park going? We kind of met today to think about what's the next steps. And the mayor and Robert, as your point of representatives, I think would like to propose some next steps, and I'll let you walk through those, Mayor, and then we can discuss.
So Robert, you want me to go, or do you want to go?
We'd like to have an official letter because, we want to, there's been a lot of negotiation, a lot of documents passed back and forth, but we wanted this to have the bearing of the city on it and the electeds of the city. And our position would be as follows: the city to lead development of Milwaukie Bay Park. In the discussions earlier, there was some hesitancy by the district to let go of their project management, but recently they have become more amenable to that. And quite frankly, we want to be in the driver's seat on it. We want NCPRD to transfer the design and the existing contracts that were done 5 years ago, whenever it was, to the city. They're probably at the 50% level or less because of the time delays and that kind of thing. And for NCPRD to contribute financially, including the 3.1 million of Zone 1 SDCs, which are from our zone, and the 2.5 million of Metro local share, not as a loan, as basically a contribution. So when you just add those things up, 3.1 and 2.5, you're getting close to 50% of the park cost there. And the city is willing to adopt a negotiated addendum to a cooperative IGA at the same time, in which the city has already made several concessions. So basically in that letter, we would set a November 1st deadline for a written response from the county Parks and Recreation Board, because they have their next meeting on October 29th, that we know of. Again, we would not even discuss any issues of governance separately, and that, in conjunction with the park. It's never been brought up by us, never. In 10 months, we've never brought it up. And so that would be a separate discussion if they want to talk about it. That wouldn't happen until the parks issue are resolved, and that wouldn't begin until sometime in 2026, if they were really wanted to pursue that. So I will tell you that these negotiations we've described as cautiously optimistic a couple of times. We've called them frustrating a couple of times. The mayor has used the term, "You're kicking the can again," in the presence of the county commissioners several times. And we thought, quite frankly, about 2 weeks ago, we thought things were falling through completely. And then there was some um, uh, discussions between the county staffs that said, gosh, we might be close to, an agreement. And then they come back with this thing about, okay, we're going to start separation agreements. There's always something new that comes out with the county board that I think frustrates progress here. But we just want to go, in written form officially to tell the board with all of our signatures, hopefully, where we stand on this.
And I will say, when it comes to the cooperative IGA, I think, and I said this in our meeting, they are getting a lot in this cooperative IGA. They're getting our, transferring the responsibility for maintenance of Milwaukie Community Center to us. We know that is a 45-year-old building. It has needs. It's going to need some investment. So that is not an inconsequential, that's not an inconsequential concession from us. And then this separate concession that Emma laid out about how they, any expenditures they make get paid back, should we leave, on an amortized basis. And thirdly, if we get to this agreement, we can all have a nice press release or some kind of a good positive message to share about moving Milwaukie Bay Park forward. The truth is that as the system plan work happened over the last 18 months, it's become increasingly clear, and I think it's become increasingly clear to them as well, that they really need to go out to the voters for more money. It's not clear in what form they intend to go out to the voters for more money. That could be, the reforming the district. That could be just a bond or a levy, or a bond and a levy. But it's clear they need to go out to voters for more money, and having a positive message and movement on Milwaukie Bay Park can only be helpful for voters, willingness to give them more money. So it's sort of incomprehensible to me, the thing we got today.
And just for the folks that haven't been deeply in these weeds, you might be wondering, where did these 3.1 and 2.5 numbers come from? The 2.5 has been the Metro local share identified for this project in NCPRD's budget for years. Also on September 26th, this is back when the county turned to us and said, hey, provide a full funding strategy. In a letter from Chair Roberts to Mayor Beatty, they dictate that they have available 3.1 million from Zone 1 Milwaukie and can commit 2.5 million of Metro local share. So those numbers were first shared by the county or by the board. And so that's where those numbers came from. I just wanted to clarify, we're not making them up.
We got that on what date?
We received that letter on September 26th, and prior to our meeting on October 1st.
And that information was originally requested in the first meeting in January.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so now this is our proposed
But if they say, shove it.
Well, then we come back and talk to you, talk as a full council, but, do we go off on our own fundraising, mission for the park? I think there could be a few different scenarios if they don't come to the table, but I think that it's funny, when we started these meetings, the Councilor Massey would say to me, as like trying to calm me down, we need to get to the next meeting. We need to get to the next meeting. He hasn't been saying that for the last few meetings. That is no longer the mantra of getting to the next meeting. It's become painfully obvious that we're there's a lot of can kicking going on here. Oh, Councilor Scavenger.
Thank you for this summary. This is helpful. I think there are several things that come to mind for me. I'll try to say them individually and not in the total mesh of words that is happening in my head right now. I think that people, especially right now, need electeds that work together. I think that community members deserve district assets. And I have great appreciation for Mayor and Councilor Massey and the county staff and city staff who have put countless hours into this with the best of intentions. I find it very frustrating that there was a dismissal of 4 meetings, the progress that took place over 4 meetings, which was in the heat of the summer when people are trying to take vacations and it's sometimes difficult to get everybody at the table to continue a discussion, moving it forward. I don't know if there was any additional communication from the county, but it seems like it seems really unfortunate that that was discounted. It's really frustrating that we are at this point right now where this has been a legislatively frustrating multi-decade process that we're trying to wrap up with a bow in the best possible way with concessions that I will say a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, wouldn't have even been on the table. I don't see any, okay, all right, backing up the fuels. I think what I would really appreciate from the county at this point is, like the slide that we see in front of us currently looks like it's a summary of that conversation that the staff had with you. I think this needs to be in writing. This needs to be part of the legislative history of this conversation between our 2 jurisdictions. I don't think it's appropriate to have the responsibility of codifying this placed on our staff that needs to be communicated by the county jurisdiction. So what I'd like to request, Emma, is that you follow up with the district staff and ask them to put in writing what they communicated on the phone to you. We get to today and it appears that all of this conversation was really for naught, that perhaps that the separation agreement was the intent of the district the entire time. And I think that's disappointing. I think it's disingenuous. I think as a county resident, I expect better, honestly. We have put in a lot of time, a lot of effort, have prioritized this conversation with the best of intents. And this is disappointing from a jurisdiction that should have more respect for the funding and the assets that are at play in this discussion. So my question to you, Emma, at this point is the concessions that were communicated as part of the draft cooperative IG addendum, which was a document then discounted by the county. Why are those even included in any further discussions?
It's a good question, Counselor, and I know that, your appointed representatives chime in, I think that our thought was, you know, we really have been at this table in good faith, and we wanted to show that even at this 11th hour, you know, setting a November 1 deadline, we're still in good faith. And I think that, you know, the mayor alluded to divorce, and I will just respectfully say it's been brought up multiple times through this process, that, you know, oh, well, Milwaukee's planning to leave, and we remind them at every juncture that we do not have council direction to leave, and that the validation petition is not about leaving, it's about clarifying the language. I can understand there may be confusion there, but we've tried to be very clear. So I think the conclusion of the addendum to the cooperative IGA is once again us saying we have been good faith partners. We are not looking, we aren't, this isn't our ploy to leave the district. We're willing to even update these terms. We've been very clear. The North Star you gave us was get Milwaukie Bay Park. That has been what we've been at the table trying to achieve.
And I think that is our sort of quid pro quo in some ways for the metro local share money, right? Like, I think our zone, as if we walked away and just started to raise the money ourselves, I think we would have at least a good case to make for getting the zone 1 STCs that our residents have paid. It's not a given. I mean, it would be a struggle, but it's not a given. But I think we'd have a decent case for that. The metro local share is the extra bit that gets us closer to, you know, being able to really, you know, have, as Councilor Massey said, be almost halfway to funding the park. So I think that was the idea of we give on the cooperative IGA in order to get that money to get us further toward, you know, being able to construct, being able to start the project.
I think what I expected to come in here tonight presenting was the case for why those concessions were worth it, because you could get the park on a nearer term horizon with us in the driver's seat. What's very interesting about the position I think none of us expected to find ourselves in is that was sort of ripped out from under us with a brand new proposal about departure. So yeah.
So thinking back to the legal interpretation that we've received thus far, given that we haven't had a final ruling on the appeal of the validation action, which is literally a communication of clarification. And the county should know that because they have a huge legal team that should be familiar with what a validation action is. What does a separation agreement even look like? What is the mechanism for that? And why isn't the county proposing that if this is their great idea?
It's a good question that I did not get into today on the phone with county staff. I welcome our city attorney, who I know is joining by Zoom, if he wants to chime in here. I mean, I will say the little I understand about state statute, regardless of the way the validation results, is that in special districts, it's the party that owns the land. The landowner would begin the proceedings to depart. So this really has caught us, I think, off guard, and I don't think we have good answers. But I also think that we don't want to maybe be distracted by that question, because right now it seemed again like the direction we had from you as a body was Milwaukie Bay Park. We were not there to talk about separation, and so that's why I think what you see and why Councilor Massey talked about trying to say we won't even discuss governance until next year.
This is Justin Garricky, the city attorney. I don't have much to add. It was a prerequisite to this process that we not discuss or upset the status quo in the existing IGA while the validation action was pending, which is a determination about which statute applies for us to leave the district if we should choose to do so. The message I got today from City Manager Emma is exactly as she shared with you today. We have no information about what sort of separation agreement could possibly be entered at this point. So I can't really comment on it.
Scott, can you go back a slide, please? Or whoever has the clicker? Okay. I mean, I do see the separation as another way to kick the can, frankly. I don't know. Yeah.
There were actually discussions in this 10-month period that any reference to us withdrawing from the district were to be removed from the master IGA because it's on appeal. And so we didn't want to modify that or change that or anything like that. And during the process of the discussions, we think that there's agreement. We actually had the county administrator and the county attorney agree with us and said that was not on the table. And now it's back on the table.
Yeah. So I think, again, I need to echo my appreciation for the time that you have both put into this, the time that all of the city staff and leadership have put into this. It's disappointing. It's disrespectful. It's a waste of our time. And that's a really unfortunate look for the county board. So I would reiterate that I would like to see a letter summarizing these items written from the county side of things, because in a situation like this, it's really just unfair, Emma, to put it on you to summarize information that the county should have provided in writing. And once we have that, then I think that it seems like the county has no interest in continuing the conversations about, a collaborative partnership. I think that's really unfortunate too, because we have struggled as a body and as a community to stay at the table and continue moving forward, continuing having the best of intentions around creating this regional asset for all of our residents. And this is just a really disappointing move on the part of the county. I think it is wholly their responsibility to begin any proceedings around separation, because until we actually have the ruling on our appeal of the validation action, we don't have any legal advice that would lead us to believe that it's our role to begin that process, except for the interpretation of the statute that they've already requested that we take out of the IGA. So really, it just seems like if they want to have the separation proceeding move forward, then they should initiate that. And we'll be waiting on the edge of our seats.
So if we ask them to put this in writing, which I do like that idea, but then are you suggesting we don't, can you change the next slide? We don't send the letter that's outlined here?
Well, I guess they should already have this, right? This is why we entered into these meetings with them.
They should. I mean, I think there's a few dynamics here. We were authorized to do 2-on-2 negotiations. And so what has been happening is it's been 2-on-2 with staff, and then staff doing supplementary meetings. We then kind of leave it to each party to be updating their team, which the county has been doing an executive session. So I think the advantage of putting this into a letter that goes to the full board is just ensuring, and this is not any commentary on county staff, because I think they do a great job, but just is ensuring from the voice of us in writing, it's very clear and can't be misconstrued by their full board what your position is.
Okay.
And I think they could be one letter. I think we could
Sure.
request them to put their thing in writing and reiterate our points in a single letter.
Right. I'd be fine with that, Emma, just as long as what you're putting together says, you know, per our phone conversation.
Absolutely.
I understand the following items were communicated on behalf of of their board. And, I mean, I think that up until this afternoon, we have maintained, you know, our insistence to be a part of this conversation. Is really disappointing. I think it's okay to put that in the letter, that this is really, disappointing and abrupt. And that we would look forward to more communication and clarification from them. But I don't see that it's our responsibility to begin separation proceedings. I don't understand the mechanism for that, and we don't have full legal guidance from the courts on that.
Thank you, Counselor. And just to clarify, I think the recommendation was this be a letter from the council to the board. It could also be a letter from me, or it could be a letter from the mayor and Counselor Massey, but I'll share, I think my opinion is that if we can all agree to terms tonight, that you all support, to put in a 5 signature letter, that might have the most weight.
And we have asked for a written response. And I would say just clarify, a written response from the NCPRD board.
It looks like the council president has been thinking to put up his goose, but it's not, yeah.
Well, I had promised earlier that I wasn't going to talk anymore tonight, but I feel compelled to do so. I guess I'm a little shocked. I fully expected for the county and the city to be able to come to some type of agreement in which we could proceed as members of the district, fully like being a part of the district, not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And to me, what I see in this action is the county is worried about the electoral prospects of a bond if they don't deliver on Milwaukie Bay Park. I think they don't really want to be the ones to deliver on Milwaukie Bay Park. And I think they kind of want to leave it up to us, which means that it's hard to get their bond passed. I think it also makes it hard. Like, I'm just in this wondering what their timeline is for a bond, or sorry, not a bond, I keep saying bond, but reform the district, and what that would mean for Milwaukee's timeline to form a district if we were to go on our own. And just trying to get a sense of a realistic timeline here. Because if they're really insistent, if at this point they truly believe that we cannot work together anymore, I struggle to see why we continue to try and work together with them. I know that I think the easiest course of action is to try and keep this district together and keep operating. And I always operated under the assumption that it is us who have been most discontent with the services we are getting from the district. And I guess what I'm so shocked by to see here is the district who now resents us and wants to separate from us in some ways. Maybe that's a bit strong language, but I think that I'm really shocked in seeing this. And if it is inevitable that the county wants to separate from Milwaukie, I'm worried about what timeline they want to put forward. Is that something that they intend to move to voters in November of 2026? Does that mean we have until November to figure out how to run a parks district on our own? If that's the case, I struggle to go back and forth. This letter that we put together, I struggle to see the county accepting it. And if it's inevitable that the county is going to pull back from our district, I question how best to move forward.
So I don't know that I can, I will address the when they're going for funding. I don't think they know. I don't think they know what form, whether they're going to reform or whether they're going for a levy. Kia certainly expressed her, feeling that the district is hemorrhaging and that they should go. She would like to see something go next November. We also know the school district is looking to do something next November. So, I don't know how realistic it is that they will go that soon, but I think they don't, unless they've been doing a lot more in executive session, which, about that, I don't think they know, how soon they'll be ready to go.
And I'll share, I mean, I think I'd urge us to not veer too far into speculative conversations about governance, frankly, until next year, just because, again, this caught us so off guard, and I think it's really important that our constituents know this wasn't our veiled attempt to talk about separation. We have been at the table to talk about Milwaukie Bay Park. We were asked to talk about the cooperative IGA. We did, to be good partners, and frankly, to improve our ability to work productively in this district. But I just, I think there may be soon a time at where we do need to start talking about those, the timeline and the strategy pieces, but I would just urge us, you had a very clear directive here, and I'd follow through on your directive, and your directive was, get an answer on Milwaukie Bay Park.
And I guess on the point of, are they gonna do what we asked them to do here? They very well may not, but I guess I see value in putting it in writing and putting it to them. We did say at least as early as October 1st, and maybe at the September meeting, that we were looking to put both IGAs on our agenda.
Yes.
For today. Originally for today, that got pushed back to November 4th. So, I mean, this is not coming out of the blue, I guess.
I think the November 1 deadline is in line with what we have said. We wanted to introduce IGAs to you tonight and vote on them on the 4th. And so I think this would be the kind of last gasp to be very clear and transparent to them, to your constituents, that this is what we've asked for, this is where we've gotten in this process. Is it a yes or a no from the county or from the board?
Yeah, I would, I just think the focus has to be on the park. And what I would say is, don't take the bait. Don't take the bait on the governance issue. Forget about it. Don't speculate about the timeline. Let's talk about Milwaukie Bay Park. That's what we said from the very start, from January, the first meeting in January. And so they may want to talk about it, but we're not going to talk about it as far as I'm concerned.
So I know we have another large agenda item. So I just, we've got a proposal from Councilor Stavanger to do a letter. The first part of that letter is requesting that what was communicated to me today verbally be put in writing. And then a restatement of this being the city's position, a request for the November 1st written response from the board. And you've heard my proposal that this be a letter signed by all of you. Can I ask if there's consensus to do that?
I thought that, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I thought that you had circled back a little bit with a rephrasing of what you, I think that's, I like that idea because I think it's more timely that we can, get an official correspondence out. So I like that rephrasing that you came up with on the second attempt.
So, Emma, I don't think that it's necessary to add an additional step. I think that your letter, or, the letter that we all sign on to, just needs to reiterate what was communicated to you on the phone, indicate that our intention of putting that into a letter is just to make sure that, if there's anything that was misunderstood or miscommunicated or anything like that, this would be an opportunity for them to clarify. Because generally when you do something like this, it's not just a phone call. Especially not with so much on the line and all the community members that are paying attention to this. It needs to be something official.
And I will say, the other value I see in the letter is they haven't had their full contingent at all of these most recent meetings. And so it is good to put it before them all and make sure that they all hear the same, read the same thing.
If we're sending this letter and if we're pursuing a strategy of trying to make sure that this relationship still works, I think that it might be helpful to reiterate at the start something about how Milwaukie like continues to remain committed to the district, and that like though there are challenges that we're facing, we think that the best path forward is to work this out within the district, and this district structure has merit. There are certainly like, I would even raise to them, if you want to have a conversation about governance, your bond measure, whatever comes next, we can have those conversations. But I think some statement, if this is the pathway that we want to go, I think to fully commit and say that the city is still trying to work this out within the confines of the district. Because I guess the challenge that I see in framing it like this is it seems like by saying we want to discuss governance in 2026, it still seems to leave open the door that we somewhat want to leave. And I think it's important, if we are saying that this is what we'd like to do and we want to validate the work that Councilor Massey and Mayor Beatty have done all summer, to once again say, we are not the problem here. We will work within the district. We will try and make this district work, and to make that clear. But I'm curious y'all's thoughts.
I just want to make this clean. And I just, want to keep this about Milwaukie Bay Park. And I don't even want to have any, references to bonds or whatever, levies or anything like that. And the only thing I think that I would possibly add to the letter is that, the issue of governance was taken out of the discussions and agreed to be off the table. And we're not going to talk about it.
Yeah. And I think, Council President, I know it's on this same slide, but I don't think we need to put that last bullet in the letter. I think the letter is about these negotiations in this park, and I think what we could say is the city of Milwaukie remains a part of the district, and there's no council direction to leave the district. That is a factual statement that has been made 20 million times through this process. I think I agree with Councilor Massey that going too deep into it or making commitments that's trying to bind any kind of future council is just getting a little, it's frankly taking it's starting the conversation that I think they're trying to make us have rather than staying on course with the conversation we have been at the table to have.
And I think we can say part of what you were proposing about we have been in good faith at this table seeking to work this out within the confines of the district, within the framework of this district, and have not had any movement to leave without going. I mean, some of your language I think went a little too far in some sort of future commitment, or and I think we have to be careful because we can't commit a council 2 years from now that may have different people on it, right?
Emma, in your phone conversation, did their representative say anything about like wanting to continue any negotiation at all? Or is it like, it's so confusing, right? Like you were going down this path and then there was radio silence and now they want to go down this path.
Sure.
So
yeah, and I want to just state again that I'm very appreciative of the partnership of county staff, and this, we are the messengers in many ways. So what was conveyed to me was that they were authorized today to share the points that were on this slide, and that's what they were authorized to share. So it didn't go beyond that of willingness to explore other things, or, it was really just, this is what we'd like you to relay to the city of Milwaukie.
Well, again, I'll just say that it's really disappointing. And I think that trying to apply any logic to this is just really kind of a futile effort on our part. So I think summing it up, asking for verification that that is what they intended to communicate, And then reiterating, the intention that our two representatives have had the entire time.
Okay.
And then leave it for them to add anything else to it, because
Okay.
really, like, we're all waiting.
Okay, I think I know the direction. Speak now if you're,
Is the, are the counselors okay with, us, finishing up the letter?
Yep.
With your signature?
Can I clarify the November 1st deadline? What are the terms that we're setting on that? Are we saying that if we don't hear back, ... what?
I don't think we need to specify that. I think what we can say is that this is the fact. We have it on our agenda for November 4th to consider approval of an agreement. And so are these what do they think about these terms for an agreement? And I think we will need to discuss on November 4th what the response is and discuss where we go from there. But I don't think we need to tell, I don't think we frankly know what happens. It's all based on that response. So I think it'll just be, what we say is we'd like to hear from you November 1st. And as you know, this is on our November 4th agenda.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan. Just in case they aren't paying attention to a legislative process that is moving forward. So I think it's important to communicate that, and hopefully they will also communicate.
I guess I would just one additional, to Councilor Massey's question, where everybody's okay with us signing with a 5-signature letter? Okay. It's noted there, they meet next Wednesday as the NCPRD board. That's something they only do quarterly. That meeting will be, I think, at the Milwaukie Community Center this time. Usually they're at the Aquatic Center, but I think they're doing this one at the Milwaukie Community Center. I will be traveling that day. I won't be able to go. I don't know if there's a point in some of you going and saying something at that meeting or not. I mean, but I just wanted to put that out there as a, to have in your mind. And I think, consult with Emma or Robert about,
We'll make sure to let you know when the letter is distributed and give you a copy. So if you do want to go, you have that in hand.
Okay. All right. All right, we have somebody who came in, but I think we're going to go ahead because we have oh, maybe you're here for the TSP. Okay.
Accommodating the change, I'm going to have to leave.
Okay. Well, thank you for all your work on this. Yeah. Okay. So our last substantive agenda item of the evening is the transportation system update discussion. And Community Development Director Laurel Weigel. And is there a Jen Garbely, or is she on? She's on Zoom. Okay.
All right. Hello. Thanks, everyone. So yes, and we've also got Matt Hugart, our consultant from Kittleson, who's been with us all along the way. He is also on Zoom. And this is really just a continuation of the conversation that we had a few weeks ago, back in September. And so you've got your packet, and I addressed kind of like there were some comments that you all had made during the last session, and kind of gave you our response to those comments. And you should see all of those changes reflected in the project list. Then what we did is we went to the TSP Advisory Committee, and we sat down and we had a little party, and during that, to celebrate all the hard work that they've done. It was our last meeting with them, and so we wanted to take a moment to pause and say thank you for spending all these couple of years with us. And then also we made a few changes based on some of the conversations that we had with the AC. And so those changes are noted You have it in the packet that I gave you in front of you. All of those changes are noted in the project list that you have printed in front of you. There's not that many. And if you look up on the screen here, I've outlined the 5 things that were changed since the last time you saw the packet. And so at this point, I would like to open it up for any further conversations or questions that you still might have regarding the project list and what tier each of the projects are in.
I just have to add appreciation that it was formatted into French according to one of the bubbles on here.
Oh, look at that. Good. I didn't catch
Oh,
that.
it is. It says France, French. Okay, question, all right, these this is project numbers, not pages, P20.
Yeah, they're the project numbers.
Okay.
So I can go through that. P27 is the revised cost to reflect the city's grant match and not full construction, because there's an understanding, and Jen can chime in anytime, that the city would always be looking for a federal fund match and that we would not have the funds available to do full construction. So that kind of gave us a little bit more room, a wiggle room to add in a few more projects up into tier 1, the financially constrained list. We revised project Bike 25 to reflect that the paving over there is complete. So it's just the next step is to install shared lane markings, signage, and traffic calming. P pedestrian 110 actually was moved up into tier 1 based on feedback that we got from the TSPAC, and that was the 37th. From Lake Road to Grogan to construct 5-foot minimum curb type sidewalks. That project got moved up. B60 was just kind of clarifying.
Why?
Why? Because there was a conversation and one of the TSPAC members suggested moving this up, and she had talked to some of her neighbors, and there was a discussion at the advisory committee, and they asked to move it up.
I guess I'm a little surprised to see this one here too, if I'm being honest. I thought that one member lived near the project and had mentioned that they'd like to see it moved up, but I didn't realize there was a consensus from the TSPAC. I guess my only challenge with P110 is for a lot of the other projects, we've tried to hew really closely to the classification map, and that street is not one of our classified pedestrian walkways. And so I wonder a little bit about spending the dollars there versus one of our other walkways.
Still up for conversation for sure. This is a kind of a council choice. So, so happy to discuss that one further. Then the other one was B60. We took out a couple of projects because there was just overlap with the project description. So that was just a little bit of cleanup. And then we added an additional project, B84, Monroe from 37th to Garrett to reflect the Monroe from Oak. 37th already has a multi-street pathway. So, and I don't know if Jen is here. I know Jen is here, and I know Matt's here, and I don't know if they have anything else they would like to share with us.
They're both on the panel.
Okay. I just can't see them on the screen, so yeah.
Yeah, this is Matt. I don't have anything additional to share.
This is Jen. I don't have anything also additional to share.
I'm still trying to get my head around 110, and I guess, is there a map?
P110 would be, was it 37th Ave? I don't think it's marked on our project list, but it's 37th Ave from where it connects near Century Park down to, oh, I'm on the bicycle project map. Whoops. Here we go. Here it is, Lisa.
What's that? Do I have? Oh.
Yeah, everybody's got it's the pedestrian projects map that was included with the packet that I gave you.
So, okay, bicycle.
And so Matt, if you could just reconfirm for the, sorry, I was just looking at the project, the list, the total that it all adds up to, which is $27,350,000. Is that's within the bucket that we need to be hitting. So we're on target for our requirements through the state.
Correct. Yep. Our target was 27.5 million. So the big change that allowed us to get there was the first bullet on the screen there, which was revising the P27 to not be the full construction cost, but to make it the cost associated with a city match associated with a future grant. That shaved off about $3 million. And then it shaved enough off to the point where, at least in terms of the original cost assumption that we had in there, shaved enough off to where we still had some wiggle room to add P110 on. Now, I understand there's maybe some discussion about whether we keep P110 on there tonight, but at the moment, we are just a little bit below the target of 27.5 million as it currently stands, with all the changes noted on the screen.
Right, so actually we could keep that project, or not keep that project, but we still, if we keep that project, we still have about another $250,000 of a project to add. Is that correct? At
150, yes.
150, yeah, sorry, right, 150.
So these maps are only the maps of the unconstrained projects. They're not all, it's just not trying to map all the projects. Am I right?
I think what way I would characterize the maps is they're all the projects, the ones that have kind of the black border around the line or the bubble or the dot.
Mm-hmm.
The black border represents a current designation of tier 1 financially constrained. If it doesn't have that black outline, that's one of the other tiers, tier 2 or tier 3.
Okay.
So they all are on the map.
Okay, well then like B81, oh, it's B, it's not P. Oh, well, maybe that's my problem. Okay. I guess, I mean, just talking about this P110, in my mind, if we're going to talk about 37th, this kind of what I would assume is a pretty low volume segment of 37th in the neighborhood versus 37th next to behind Milwaukie Marketplace, which is a speed zone. I can tell you from working in Minthorn Springs, that doesn't make sense to me. I mean, to me, that would be a higher ranking project than this. And I guess I'm trying to understand more why this would make the unconstrained, I mean, the constrained list and the other one remains on the unconstrained list.
Again, I think that there was just the conversation at the TSPAC, and the one AC member said that she had talked to a lot of neighbors about it, and she'd been kind of tracking this project, and there was a discussion, and the group decided that they were comfortable with it. I mean, there wasn't a huge in-depth discussion, but she had just heard a lot of feedback from neighbors over the years, and this was something that she had had her eye on for the neighborhood. So with the kind of freeing up a little bit of the money because of the changing in the cost regarding the B27 project, there was a little bit of room to include this project. That said, if there's a different project, if we want to move that around, that is completely still feasible.
Is there, and this is maybe a question for Jennifer, but is there, so there's a B81, which is a bike lane, basically, project on 37th between International Way and Washington. But is there a sidewalk project? I thought we do have, not in tier 1 necessarily, but we do have a sidewalk project on 37th.
There's a tier 2 unconstrained project that's P10 from 37th Avenue from Washington Street to International Way. And I know at least, so B81 was a route that was discussed at the TSPAC as a dangerous area, and it was actually moved up because of a desire to see some type of improvement there. And trying to see, I think it was bike lanes that was discussed. And then P10 would be a project that fits with that. And both of those projects would amount to less than the $500,000 in B110, or sorry, in P110.
Okay, well, I'm kind of arguing against my own suggestion, but why would the sidewalk on this stretch of Linwood, I mean, of 37th be so much cheaper than the sidewalk over there? Why would the sidewalk in P10 be so much cheaper than the one in P110?
I will put that question to Matt.
Yeah, I'll offer some thoughts. I'm trying to dig up the spreadsheet right now, but I believe without finding it at this very moment, I believe it has to do with the fact that there's a lot more residential driveways and curb cuts along P110, the section of 37th that is P110, than there is along the P10 segment, given that, you know, the western or the eastern half of 37th along Minthorn is
No curb cuts.
not it's just a curb, right? And it's much easier to construct a sidewalk without all the infrastructure of neighboring properties getting in the way.
Okay, okay. Well, that makes some sense. I didn't realize it made that big of a difference, but that does make some sense.
Just looking at this, if we did both the bike and pedestrian improvements along 37th Street, that is $235,000. If we're taking off P110, which was $495,000, that leaves us with $260,000.
Well, so you were there for the TSP conversations through.
Yep.
I mean, personally, to me, this stretch of 37th seems more important, but I may be prejudiced in that because I work in Minthorn on a regular basis. What do you think the sense of the group or the conversations were around that?
I will absolve you of your prejudice and agree somewhat here. We have, I think, to abstract from our own prejudices in the projects, we've looked a lot at the classification maps to see where is it most appropriate for treatments. And 37th is a major city walkway, whereas the lower stretch of 37th identified in P110 is just a local service walkway. So it's a lower classification. And I think it makes sense then that we invest in the quality of a route along a major classification. I think it gives good connectivity to the 37th multi-use path and the railroad intersection. So I think it ties up really nicely.
And Monroe.
And Monroe, which is also why, so the section that was discussed in the TSPAC was B81, where one committee member said that that was an unaddressed section that they'd like to move up. I think that section, frankly, that section of 37th, I will abstract from that bike conversation. I just desire to see more treatments on that section of 37th because it is higher traffic for bike ped. I'm a little, I guess I say I was surprised that P110 was included. I know that one committee member cared about this project, came into this conversation. She had missed the last committee meeting where we talked about prioritization and ranking and had expressed some interest in seeing this included. I think we had said just because a project's not on the financially constrained list doesn't mean that it is not going to be done. It just means that it's not a guarantee or a soft guarantee, because I know that even this list is not a guarantee. I think that that's a pretty steep hill. I know that there was a discussion about kids going to RAU along that route. I think there are definitely other routes. I again, turn back to our classification map. We've got 34th identified as the pedestrian walkway. So I think, to me, it makes more sense to take the money that we have and invest it in higher classification routes.
Okay, I'm with that. What do anybody else?
I have a question
dissenting? No.
Not necessarily on that. I'm just curious about another thing. Why the P71 was moved down? That's just curious. What was the
Can you tell me, oh, we don't have page
P
numbers.
71 was moved
it's on
down. My
page 3.
understanding is those intersections were all covered by the roadway projects. And so there was some overlap. These are the intersections at the 224.
Yeah.
And so the roadway projects, which would be identified as, let's see, R2, encompasses the work that would happen in P71. And so the understanding was we only have to include R2. It will encompass the project description of P71, so you can move P71 down.
Does that logic apply to B37 on the same page?
B37, let's see.
I'm totally lost.
Page 3?
Oh, are there page numbers? Oh, okay. There are page numbers. Yay.
You have to help me out here. Did you say P37 or B37?
B as in Bravo 37. It's the Oregon 224 Southeast Harrison Street intersection. Coordinate with ODOT to improve bicyclist safety across Oregon 224.
That same logic applies. Yeah, R2, if you look at the project description.
Where's R2?
Describes,
I
R2
got it.
is the one that we funded. R2 says, and I can read directly here.
The top of page 2.
Oh, yep.
Oh, yeah, third item down on page 2.
Coordinate with ODOT to add the left turns lanes and Keeley, or importantly, improve pedestrian and bicycle crossings at OR 224.
So do we not even need the?
The discussion at the TSPAC was P71 and B fill in the blank are both unnecessary because they are encompassed in R2.
So we would strike B37?
It doesn't matter that B37 is there because that's tier 1 unconstrained. So you could in theory put whatever you want there.
And which one addresses the I don't even know what you call this, that's from 224 oh God, what's that street where Minthorn Springs is?
That's 37. That's what we were talking about.
Right, where that intersection on 224 where it's like a weird, there's like one side has a stop
International
sign.
Way.
International Way.
Yeah, it's a terrible intersection.
Does anything address that? Because that's a kerfuffle.
That kerfuffle I don't think is solved by any TSP projects, but the consultants can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see it in the P map. I will say that ODOT is constructing improvements along the whole length of that corridor right now. If you drive 224, you see all the curbs are getting adjusted. Not that it totally solves, but
it doesn't do anything for that.
They're supposed to add a little more bump outs to be able to make it easier to cross those streets.
But this isn't even across 224. This is like International Way coming in, and then you got a right lane turn, and then you can still turn right if you just go to the left. It's just a really bad, some people don't know where to stop or where if they're supposed to stop because it's not an always stop. So, I mean, that would be.
It does. I mean, I agree with you. It's a mess. They are out there now with working on something. I don't know what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
I don't know if Jen knows.
Jen, I was going to say, Jen, do you have some information about that you can share?
I don't know what that intersection looks like. I'm sorry. Or is going to look like.
I mean, as I recall, they came to us like 2 years ago or maybe 3 years ago to talk about crosswalk closures. And there was I think that's going to be, they were trying to close some kind of crosswalk there, and they want people who want to get across 37th to cross back at the crosswalk that exists in front of that Charles Day business. There is a painted crosswalk there, and there's crosswalk signs, although one of them I think has a tree grown over it. But they told us, it was Steve Adams, because I remember him being in this conversation. I'm like, oh, we should sign that better so that pedestrians know that they're supposed to cross there and they can't cross when they get up to International Way. So, I mean, that is a terrible intersection for bikes and peds, but I don't know what the solution is. And you're saying there is not a solution among these project lists?
This is the first time we've talked about it, as far as I understand. I don't know if Jen and Matt remember it differently.
I thought we brought it up before.
Yeah, I don't recall a detailed conversation on it.
You know, a lot of times a day, it's a low volume. It's not a huge number of cars, but when businesses are changing shifts and stuff, it backs up, it stacks up, and yeah.
So is the concept that you would like us to consider adding another project, and then we would need to add that into, just figure out the cost, and then we'd have to figure out which tier we would want to put it in?
The challenge, I think, so what Laura's alluding to here is if we add another project, we only have one more meeting and Laura's got to get this approved. And so it's hard to bank on us adding a project that we don't know the amount that it will cost and still hit that 27.5 million.
I'm not saying add anything. I just thought it would have been something considered.
Maybe, sure, we add a project and put it in somewhere on the TS.
Unconstrained.
Yeah.
We could.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it may be more expensive than what your delta is that you have in the unconstrained. So, in the constrained. So, I'm fine.
Can I interrupt and ask the question again, just for confirmation? What is the intersection that's being discussed at the moment, just for reconfirmation?
37th and International Way, which abut right up to 224.
Okay. So we do have a project. It's not in the bike ped. It's under the roadway and intersection project list. It's project R8. And the description for that project is kind of a catch-all for a lot of things, but predominantly associated with, the kind of the strange geometry of having the 37th and International Way intersection being so close to the intersection with 224. So we do have a kind of a catch-all project that was a holdover from your current TSP associated with that. Now it's defined and described to be bike ped and roadway geometry improvements. So there is that in there. It's just not listed specifically under bike or ped.
Oh, it's a tier 3 unconstrained.
It's a tier 3 unconstrained. Again, I don't know, I don't know enough about the discussions at the TSPAC, but I'm okay with it being unconstrained. I wonder if it should be higher than tier 3 though.
Yeah, I think so.
I've heard, as I got into those weeds, I had staff tell me it really doesn't matter which tier it is in the unconstrained list, but I think fine to move. The thing that I would turn us to is if we eliminate P110 and we adopt the bicycle and pedestrian projects along 37th in that northern section that we've identified, and we take this gap that we have right now, we have an extra, the folks at Kittleson were saying, 150,000 that we could add to the project list. That means we still have a total of $410,000 that are unallocated in our TSP constrained list. Which the reason I guess I bring it up is that 700,000 plus figure is over that $400,000 amount. So it wouldn't make sense to add it into the tier 1 constrained list. But I totally take your point that I think it's a good project to look at, especially as there are other things happening in concert on that street.
Well, and if we, I'm okay.
And I guess the question too is, does the R8 capture the project, or would we need to refine that a little bit more?
I feel like it does.
Okay.
Right? Reading it, that's what I got from it. But, yeah, I guess that's just my perspective.
And so Councilor Anderson, I'm sorry, if you could can you give me the numbers on the projects? Because I am not as familiar with all of the projects.
Totally fair. P10 is the pedestrian project on 37th and B81.
Okay, P10, B81, got it. So moving down 110 and moving up P10 and B81.
Yep.
Okay.
I will say is we've been talking, I've done some quick look backs, and I'll pose some problems for us all to noodle on. We have $410,000 left unallocated in this tier 1 constrained list, which I don't think we have to allocate all of those funds necessarily. But if we wanted to, there's still more wiggle room. Just looking, I went back and I looked at the BLTS and PLTS maps. These are the traffic level stress areas to see, are there any areas identified in our kind of priority focus areas that we're not funding and changing? I can list out just a few of those things and talk about the cost of the projects. On the pedestrian map, the hard thing is these projects are a little bit more expensive. P9, that 34th Avenue. First, I'll say there are a lot more PLTS areas because that PLTS threshold is a little bit harder to meet. But that P9 was one area, but that project is too expensive. And there was P21, which is 42nd Avenue, which also didn't meet the scratch, but P21 was also very expensive. So it might be hard to put a pedestrian project that is touching those kind of PLTS markers that we'd like on this list, unless there's another unicorn like P10 floating around there that somehow is so cheap. The bike projects that aren't there are B68, which is again 42nd, and B84, which is a stretch of 37th, or sorry, of Monroe.
Oh, you're talking about Monroe, where we've aligned to Washington, so it's
Yep.
Monroe.
On the BLTS map, that section from 37th to, it looks like 42nd is BLTS, or is not BLTS compliant, does not meet our target.
37 to what?
37th to 42nd. So basically as you go from 7 acres up to the Safeway.
What's the number? I'm sorry.
That is, yeah, lots of
B?
numbers, sorry. B84, which is $400,000.
Right on the money. I'm not seeing B84. Why am I not seeing it?
Let me see, one last thing. Nope. You had mentioned last council meeting, Mayor Beatty, B26 is a project that you liked because it got that north-south from where the Monroe Greenway is up to Safeway. But that one is 700,000. So I'm trying to find a contender that is 400,000 or less that meets our BLTS map or is somewhere there.
Where is B84?
B84 is, if you go Monroe.
No, I mean like on the pages.
It's on the, let's see. B84 is on page, my computer is loading, apologies.
It's on the very last sheet. It was added just as a number to the very last page. So it's tier 3, very last page.
This one was added as we basically took our classification maps and added all the unlisted bike and pedestrian projects that need to be added to make sure every identified classified bikeway and pedestrian way had some type of project.
You saying this got bumped up?
No, this got added to the list.
Oh.
So you said 400,000, but it's 160 on here.
Now I'm going crazy.
I mean, it's just about shared roadway lane marking, signage, and traffic calming improvements, right?
I must have been looking at the wrong project.
On Monroe,
37.
on the Monroe segment where the Greenway is over on Washington. So, I mean, I do feel like there are going to be lots of people who probably want to use that. So, I mean, that's.
Well, if we do that, I will be honest, it does not hit that nice and tidy $400,000 number. So it leaves the question, is there other projects? Let me say, if we added that project in, we would still have $250,000 unallocated in this list. So is there another project as you scan the list for $250,000 or less? I can try and spitball some of the stuff that we heard in the TSPAC.
Question. Well, I got a question on the, because it looks like we're only doing one ADA accessibility upgrade.
I think
A lot of them are aren't those pretty important?
I think Jen and Laura can speak to that, but I think any pedestrian project has ADA compliance built into it as well.
And Jen can speak to that because she's been building out all of the ADA ramps in the city.
Do they have, is that, are they in conjunction with some of the ones that are all the way down? Like, do any of the ones that are up take care of any of the other ones that are listed that were down on tier 3 unconstrained?
I don't understand the question.
So what I'm saying is because they said that it could, some of the stuff in tier 1 will take care of, some of the stuff that we're doing will naturally take care of the ADA accessibility ones. What I'm looking.
Yeah, any pedestrian project, but it's not just sidewalk, it would be ADA at any intersection.
So do any of the ones that we currently have in tier 1 address the 3 ADA accessibility upgrades on page 10? The Lava Drive, the 47th, and the Where Else Lane?
No, those are all tier 3.
Right. But what I'm saying is, I'm just, what I'm looking at is I'm looking at one ADA accessibility upgrade on our tier 1.
Yeah, okay, I see your question, or I see where you're going with this. There were a number of projects in this list here, and the ones that are right now written as ADA accessibility upgrades, those were a preliminary catch-all description for projects that were clearly needing ADA compliance issues. There are a lot of other projects described here throughout this document where the narrative is a little more vague, but it says something to the extent of improve pedestrian crossing or bicycle crossing, and that's also a less defined catch-all for things like ADA compliance and ramp modifications at intersections. But it could in those situations, they can also include things like enhanced pedestrian signal heads, countdown timers, anything that fits into more of a catch-all of other enhanced crossing scenarios that aren't specifically ADA. So it's a long way of saying anything that's identified purely as ADA, that is essentially just modifying ramps to get them to be ADA compliant. Anything that has more of an improved safety of crossing for pedestrians at intersections could be a combination of ADA and other stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification. I guess I'm just a little bit, because some of the ones that I see on the tier 1 that may address those aren't in the same area as the 3 that are on the tier 3 unconstrained. Right, so like none of them address the Lava Drive and the Southeast 17th, the Highland Apartments entrance, the Where Else Lane, I mean, maybe the 47th and Franklin. And they look like they're pretty low cost items if we're looking for.
Well, and we're repaving Lava Drive next year, right? Is there some value in tying this to that?
So for reference, this is page 10.
Yeah, I'm looking at P100, P103, and P101.
We do have a project on Lava Drive, and I thought we were updating. I know we are updating some ramps on that project, some ADA ramps. I'm just not sure if that's the exact same ramps at the moment with Waverly South project that's under design.
Just want to make sure that we.
Is not quite what the council president was trying to get to, but I mean, if that's a project that needs to be done and that's a street we're already, going to be working on, I mean, yeah.
The one thing that Jen has counseled us on in the past, this is a good reason why I don't think the 42nd Street improvements would be good. They're already doing some improvements on 42nd, and normally Jen has the flexibility to kind of do like these ADA improvements likely could fall in the purview of already existing projects. And so we wouldn't necessarily need to list them because they're already happening or likely to happen.
Is there a way to find out that if they are happening? Because I would hate for them to say that we think they are and then they don't, because.
Well, we have to do the ramps, right? If we repave, we have to do ramps.
Right.
Legally,
but I'm talking about the 3 on this specific one, okay? These ones have specific locations. I'm not talking about the other ones. I'm saying because none of the other ones sound like they address any of these specific ones. So I'm just saying, like, I just want to make sure that we're not omitting something, because we have a lot of bike ped and there's only one ADA fixture, and not, that one doesn't seem like it addresses this. So I just want to make sure we're not leaving something out that's just as important as bike ped.
I would say to Jen's point, kind of any pedestrian project or any bike ped project that's a multi-use path has ADA components, or like is an ADA project. And for some of these, like the challenge with a project, like frankly, all of these, Lava Drive is on the bike ped classification map. So that means in theory, people are using that route for walking, rolling, however they want to get around, more often than a road like 47th and P103 that was identified that's just a little more isolated down in the corner of Hector Campbell, is one way that I might think about it. So if I had to, maybe this is what I'm saying, it seems like, and Jen, you can correct me if I'm wrong, P100 is likely to be encompassed in existing scope. I would say,
one?
Love Drive.
I know, but it would be involved in the existing road repair that they're doing next year?
Because when you repave the road, you have to add the ADA accessibility. 47th Street and P103, I don't know of a project there, and Where Else Lane, I don't know of a project there that address these things.
And the only reason I bring them up is clearly if they're on this list, there's an issue with them, right? So that's, I just want to make sure that we're
Counselors, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just do want to note that we have 3 minutes left, and if you want to go past 10, you need to make a motion to extend the meeting.
I was just about to ask about that. Okay, would someone like to make a motion to extend the meeting?
Motion to extend the meeting?
Do we have to say by how much, or can we just, we have to say by how much?
15 minutes?
Okay.
I like it.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded to extend the meeting by 15 minutes. All those in favor say aye.
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 And I'm not trying to split hairs. I just want to make sure we don't exclude anything that because, you know, AD is an important part of these things. And yeah, if we're looking for 400 grand.
Jen or Matt, can you speak to those questions?
I mean, you're doing ADA and all of those pedestrian projects. So just because it spells out on those, a couple small projects in tier 3 doesn't mean that we're not doing any ADA compliance in our tier 1 physically constrained list. That's a given, especially for paving in that area. So I wouldn't be nervous about that piece of it. We'll be continuing to update our ADA ramps through this TSP.
And is it accurate when you talk about Lava Drive? Is it accurate that you'll have to upgrade the ramps as part of that project next year?
I believe that's what we are doing, is updating those ramps on I mean, yes, Hector's got a project there. We were working on it. I'm just not looking at a map to see exactly which ramps we're identifying at the moment. So I'm sorry, I don't have that map in front of me.
So I guess the question is if in fact that work would be included with the project that's already being done, that we actually don't need this project, and it's actually another $70,000 to add to our fund. Of course, it's not really, because it's tier 3.
It's tier 3, Laura, so I don't think we need to.
But it also means maybe that we don't need the project.
The project that I found, so we've got $250,000 left. A project for $250,000 that I found that addresses one of the gaps that we saw is P23. So we have a multi-use path that goes down 43rd, and that multi-use path ends at the very end from Rhodesia Drive down to King Road. The King Road multi-use path will also go to 43rd. And so this P23 was identified as a project gap because that basically you have a gap that happens there on that, those two pedestrian walkways. If you did P23, you would have connectivity from King Road up the entire length of 43rd uninterrupted. And I think that might identify a missing gap in our network. And it's $250,000.
Well, Jen can speak to this, but as I recall, we have that gap because we didn't have property owner
Yeah,
consent.
correct, Mayor.
Something.
Yeah, Mayor's correct. So it's there's the developer, when they developed that lot, which they haven't done yet, but they have added water and sewer to that property next door. They're supposed to install a sidewalk, and the bike path actually becomes a on-street lane, a bike lane. Sorry, it's getting late.
So how does it play into the council president's suggestion that we move this up to tier 1?
That one's a little more difficult because I think you need that developer to move on their project in order to get that gap installed.
But isn't the constrained list like a 20-year horizon? Surely it's going to happen, and if they've added water and sewer?
Sure, I'm fine. You can add it if you want.
A ringing endorsement. I think that one also might be fine to do. There's a challenge if you've got a multi-use path that you would send your 5-year-old down, and then it switches to an on-street bike lane that you would not send your 5-year-old child biking down. I think it makes sense to at least continue the same treatment along the entire length of the road. And then if you're a kid, you could take a multi-use path from Lake Road, where I live, all the way up Linwood and over King and up to 43rd in a future Milwaukie world, which is pretty incredible. But for that Harmony intersection, it's great.
Okay, I don't know where we're leaving this.
Thoughts on that, or is there another project that people would prefer?
Yeah, I'd say the P23 project is a no-brainer, aside from the fact that you've got a property owner who's kind of stood in the way of the vision of completion. I think you can probably rest on that project being completed by future redevelopment of that lot, as Jen previously noted. But adding it to the list only adds emphasis, I think, from the city's perspective, that it's an important gap that they want filled. And then the likelihood of the city having to spend capital funds to complete it probably is not going to materialize, because it will get filled in once the property redevelops. And it only becomes sort of extra money, found money, if you will, for swapping a project. But I think emphasizing the importance of it by putting it on tier 1 does make some sense, and it's not going to hurt you in the long run if and when, and likely when, the property owner fills the gap for you when the property redevelops.
P23, let's see where on the list it is.
It's on page 4, the very last tier 1, financially unconstrained.
Makes good sense to move it up.
Yeah, I mean, that's a gap that would be good to fill, because right now, actually, I know that I got an email from somebody who thinks those stop signs there for the bikes apply to the cars, and complained to me that the cars weren't. So, I mean, I do think there's some confusion, and we're making people cross 43rd because it just ends. So, I mean, I'm fine with prioritizing that one.
So can I do a little recap of where we are at the moment, and then maybe we can wrap it up?
I do still have some questions, but go ahead.
Okay. And just to be clear too, obviously we're trying to get the project list wrapped up, but if there's any like major things that are still niggling at you, we still have to adopt this thing, to be clear. So, right now I've got it that we're moving P110 down, we're moving up P10, B81, B84, and P23.
And that gets us at exactly 27,500,000.
Exactly. I know, I did a little calculations over here.
Okay. So I had I had a couple questions. One is the map on RS 81, pedestrian classifications, figure 4-3. It's like, lines of where's major city walkway, neighborhood walkway, et cetera. There is a dotted line along 224. So does that mean we propose to have a sidewalk along 224? That goes from, I guess that's 37th, stay open, stay on. 37th to Harrison?
Trying to just get to where.
Yeah, I think why that was left on the PED classification, in this case, the major city walkways, it's kind of recognizing that this is the stretch of the highway that goes through the town center. And if there's ever going to be pedestrian activity along 224, this is the segment where you would most likely see it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a reflection of that fact, if you will, more than anything else. So I think that's where it originated from, and that's where it's been ever since.
Well, and that makes sense to me, but is there a project for that or no?
No project there. What I will say is some of the projects that we would have included on ODOT facilities, we didn't because it is ODOT who has to do it. The other thing there that happens is if you look at the bike classification below, Railroad is one of our major city bikeways, but there's not really major bikeway facilities on it right now. So this is where these maps are both like a reflection of current conditions and also aspirational. And I think this kind of reflects on a good chunk of that, there are sidewalks, but for a portion of the stretch, especially along the marketplace, there isn't sidewalks. And so I think it just puts forth the aspiration that the marketplace might one day have sidewalks there.
Okay. Another question, there were freight lists, and I think it was kind of at the end of what was in our packet. Let me see if I can find it, project list. Yeah, the very end of our packet, freight projects. I just noticed that I think they are all in the NMIA and there are none along International Way. Is that really the way it shook out? There was nobody called for anything along International Way?
Nope.
Other than we know they would like us to put sidewalks there. Which, do we have that? I mean, is the International Way project that's on our TSP, our safe list? Is that adding a sidewalk?
That should still be, yes. It's finishing a sidewalk, so we have a gap, right? So it should be finishing that sidewalk gap.
All the way along International Way?
Yeah.
Project P28.
Thanks, Matt.
P28?
Yeah,
Okay.
P as in pedestrian 28.
And I take it that's an unconstrained. Okay.
It is.
And my other question I noted, and this is just some of the documents have this disclaimer about cost estimates presented do not include costs associated with right-of-way acquisition, but they don't all, like these last couple don't have that. Transit improvement projects and freight improvement projects. I don't know about the transit one, but the freight one, it seems like there could be right-of-way acquisition as well, so it might need that disclaimer. And then, yeah, I think that's it. I will say that in connection with the comment that we got from Elvis Clark, Jen did tell me, and she can tell us, that she is planning to do some study of the 37th and Harrison intersection.
Correct. We've gotten numerous, calls and inquiries about Harrison and 37th and Harrison 40th. So I'm doing two small mini studies. I'm going to hire a consultant to do those studies. I want a little more in depth than what I would do in-house. So we should have some feedback on those in a little bit.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Can I say,
Anything else, anyone?
the one thing you saying that section of the 224 doesn't have sidewalks, maybe is it possible to add just a TSP project there, just so we have it to add sidewalks along the 224 from Oak Street to, I keep forgetting that, 47th.
37th.
37th, thank you. Yep, from Oak to 37th. And then it's just in the TSP, can't hurt to be there.
Yep.
Yeah, seems reasonable.
Cool. Cool. All right.
We're so close. Thank you all. I promise that we will have no questions when this comes up in January. This is way more than I
Don't make
thought.
promises you can't keep.
I thought you'd come in, say we cut off Railroad, and then we head on out tonight. But what a fun, this is what the scramble of the TSP should be. Us just
I
fighting
also,
for money.
since we're past 10 now and everyone's punchy, I just gotta say, Jen, you win the award for best Zoom background. It's like a knife collection on her wall.
Oh, I can't see what my background looks like. I can't see my photo at all.
Oh no! Well, it's cool. You look fierce.
She does look fierce. Wow. Okay.
I'm sorry, can I ask, go back 1 second? I hate to do this because we felt like we were on our way out the door, but Council Anderson, your question on adding sidewalks to 224, it just dawned on me why something was not added on that segment. It's not readily apparent, but there is a kind of a standing water wetland that separates the highway from the marketplace, and that wet feature does get in the way of the realization of a sidewalk, particularly along that north segment of 224. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's just one of those obstacles that kind of gets in the way of a realistic potential application there. Is there a reason to take that into consideration before we just add a project that gets into that kind of that sensitive wetland areas?
I think we could add a project and just kind of put a caveat because it's going to be so low on the list. And also if we add the project and we can say, you know, taking into consideration the natural resource constraints of the area.
Yeah, I wonder if you would do a boardwalk or something else, or if it's just totally impossible.
But at least we have the project identified in case there's a conversation about it. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Sorry. While we had the topic, I thought I'd make sure I just asked.
No, no problem. So before we leave, can I just, are we wrapping this up?
There are 3 minutes.
There are 2 minutes unless you make a motion to extend further.
Nobody's making a motion. Okay.
I just want to say really quick, we, we've still got to get this through the hearings process. We had originally thought that we would be going to the Planning Commission in November and December, and you all December, January. That's going to get pushed because we are still actually working on the document itself. So we're putting all the information together. So just stay tuned. It's probably going to go in February, but we're going to get through it.
All right. All right. Well, hopefully no one had council reports. If you did, put them in writing, I guess, or bring them next time. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed, say no. We are adjourned. Phew.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.